मॉडल्स, तो उस केस में आई डोंट थिंक कि ज़्यादा उनकी वैल्यू आपको मिलने वाली है. यू कैन स्टिल ट्राई प्लेटफॉर्म्स जो बहुत सारे हैं जहाँ पे यू कैन सेल यूज्ड गैजेट्स, फिर चाहे वो ई कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म्स हों या फिर वो प्लेटफॉर्म्स जो कि यूजुअली एक्सचेंज करते हैं योर ओल्डर गैजेट्स. सेकेंड ऑप्शन, अगर आपको लगता है कि इफ यू वांट टू रीपर्पस देम, देन देयर आर मल्टीपल वेज टू रीपर्पस. फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर आपके पास में फ़ोन की बात करते हैं, यू कैन यूज़ इट लाइक बेबी मॉनिटर. आप उसको एक सीसीटीवी कैमरा की तरह यूज़ कर सकते हैं. अगर आप एक लैपटॉप की बात करते हैं तो वहाँ पे यू कैन क्रिएट योर ओन सर्वर विद दैट लैपटॉप, जहाँ पे आप अपनी मूवीज वगैरह को स्ट्रीम कर सकते हैं अक्रॉस इट. मतलब देयर आर अ फ्यू यूज के सिनेरियोज, बट डिपेंड्स इफ यू वांट टू डू दैट DIY or if you'd want to just get rid of them and then get some value out of it.
Could you please suggest some apps that are good for video editing? I'm mostly looking for free applications.
Free applications में I can tell you, you can use CapCut, you can use InShot. Sometimes if you use the inbuilt editor in your phone, sometimes even that's a very powerful option. So look around, just go onto the Play Store or the App Store. You would definitely have lots of free applications popping right at the top. और वो जो apps हैं, you can use Filmora, you can use Cyber Power Director. All these apps free हैं. Maybe with some limitations or without limitations, depends app to app, but you can start from there. So guys, that's all from this week's episode of your favorite gadget show, Gadgets 360 with Technical Guruji. मतलब हर बार की तरह इस बार भी we packed everything together so tightly. एक बड़ी कार से लेके एक छोटे फोन तक सब कुछ इस एपिसोड में हो चुका है. इफ यू हैव एनीथिंग टू से, अगर आपका कोई और सवाल होता है, इफ यू वांट टू अप्रिशिएट माय वर्क, द टीम्स वर्क, इफ यू वांट टू गिव सम फीडबैक, you know the drill. The address is pretty simple. It's tg@ndtv.com. Looking forward to all your emails, all your love in the inbox. नेक्स्ट वीक दोबारा मिलने वाला हूँ कुछ और इंटरेस्टिंग गैजेट्स के साथ में. Let's keep it tight this week. That's all for now. See you all next time. Have a good day.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पर डिपेंड करता है. आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है.
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो.
पैसाबाजार.com.
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
For every news from every part of the country, download कीजिए NDTV ऐप. सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है in the world of business, politics, sports and entertainment. देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा in the theatre. Read all about Yudra on the NDTV app. So download now.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
And impact your life.
news that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan.
When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle of Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में. कैसे मारा?
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं,
ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps.
And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day.
Israeli military confirms Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah has been killed in the strikes aimed at Beirut. Three incidents of firing within 24 hours. Delhi's law and order challenge in the limelight once again. NDTV accesses CCTV footage which shows gangsters firing at the showroom. AAP versus BJP face-off over MCD standing committee elections. Delhi CM Atishi says the party will take their legal battle to the top court. Atishi calls Friday's elections results illegal. With just days to go for the final phase of elections in Jammu and Kashmir, BJP feels its biggest face the Prime Minister as he campaigns in Jammu and attacks Congress for asking for proof during surgical strikes. Congress releases manifesto ahead of Haryana Assembly elections. 7 guarantees with focus on women empowerment, agriculture and youth. The Israeli military has confirmed that the strikes aimed at Hezbollah's headquarters in Beirut has killed Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. Israeli airstrikes targeted, remember, 6 buildings in Beirut's southern suburb of Heret Herik, marking the largest assault in the Lebanese capital amid nearly a year of ongoing conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Now, Nasrallah, remember, had been at the helm of the Lebanese militant group for the past 3 decades, significantly strengthening its position as one of the most formidable paramilitary organizations in the Middle East. Now, IDF's tweet, in fact, said that Hassan Nasrallah will no longer be able to terrorize the world, thereby confirming that they had neutralized Nasrallah. My colleague Ghazali joins us with more details. Ghazali, now take us through the latest in terms of Nasrallah's death and the consequences post that for the Hezbollah.
See, the IDF has just issued a statement saying they have successfully managed to kill Hassan Nasrallah. He was the Secretary General of the Shiite militia called Hezbollah, and as we all know, it is part of the axis of resistance, as Iran calls it. It's basically part of one of the proxy militias Iran which operates in the Middle East. Hezbollah as a group is based in Lebanon, was headed by Hassan Nasrallah. Hassan Nasrallah has been the Secretary General of Hezbollah for the last 20 years or so. And he has been a very key figure in the region because every time Israel escalated the situation in Gaza, it was the Hezbollah which would react here on the northern border of Israel by launching rockets. And for the last couple of months of late, we had seen that how Hezbollah launching rockets towards the northern area of Israel. The northern area residents of Israel had to move out from there. Israeli government had to evacuate those residents. More than a lakh of residents had to leave that area and move to other locations in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister yesterday at United Nations had claimed that perhaps the bigger challenge for Israel right now is to ensure that all these residents go back to their own houses, residences on the northern border. That means that Hezbollah has to be checked. And this strike yesterday, while Mr. Netanyahu was addressing the United Nations, a precision strike is struck at the central headquarters of Hezbollah in Beirut. And today, now IDF has claimed that Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah chief, has been killed. And despite that, attacks continue in Beirut, southern and northern Beirut both. And besides Beirut, there have been attacks in Syria as well by Israel. Israel claims that they are trying to now eliminate all the threats, all the areas where Hezbollah used to store their arms and ammunition, anti-tank missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, or any kind of missiles or rockets which are being fired into Israel by Hezbollah. All those command centers and storehouses are being attacked by Israel. Israel claims that these are being hid, or the Hezbollah was operating from residential areas, and that is why these civilian areas are also under attack. Israel also claims that before launching these aerial strikes, they are warning the citizens to leave the area, but the local sources within Lebanon are claiming that even within minutes of these warnings from Israel, the attacks continue, giving no chance to these residents to leave those buildings. And that is why since Monday, since the pager attack or the pager explosion in Lebanon, in the last 1 week, more than 700 people have been killed. Many are homeless, many are displaced and are moving from one direction to another in Beirut, and many people are severely injured as well. Israel also senses now that since Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah chief, has been killed, and many Hezbollah commanders have also been killed in multiple blasts and aerial precision strikes, it also senses that perhaps it can go for a ground invasion. They have hinted for so, but as of now, the situation remains tense because Iran has also not reacted to the entire development since last evening. Since yesterday, since Netanyahu was addressing the United Nations, Israeli army, Israeli media started playing the story that Hassan Nasrallah has been killed, but an official confirmation has come now, and we'll have to see that how other players in this conflict react, because even yesterday when the Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, was asked about it, he had said that from now onwards, the path chosen by Middle Eastern players will decide their fate or future. So we'll have to see that whether the Iran's proxies in different regions like Houthis in Yemen, Shiite militia in Iraq, and even the remaining members of Hezbollah, whether they will attack or retaliate in a joint attack, because Iran has avoided getting dragged into this war since Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas chief, was killed in Tehran 2 months ago. So we'll have to see that how other players in this entire conflict will react to this development. As of now, the US, UK, France, and other global leaders or the global powers are keeping an eye on this development. But very clearly, Israel has given an indication that despite all the talks of ceasefire and a truce for war on both fronts, towards Gaza with Hamas and towards Lebanon with Hezbollah, Israel is not going to accept any ceasefire or any kind of truce until it eliminates the top leadership of both the parties, be it Hamas or Hezbollah.
Right, Ghazali, stay on with us. I'm also being joined at this point by West Asia strategist Wail Awad. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Awad. Now, talking about this particular development, not just Nasrallah, but the IDF also saying that they have eliminated Ali Karki, the commanders of Hezbollah's southern front, as well as several other Hezbollah commanders as well. Does this indicate on a slight, say, de-escalation in this particular area, especially now that the Hezbollah seems to have lost so many leaders?
Thank you, Aarti. I don't buy the Israelis' narration till now, because this is only from the Israeli army news we are getting. Right. Nothing has been confirmed from the Hezbollah or from Lebanon authorities about whereabouts is Mr. Hassan Nasrallah or his commander. Nevertheless, we can say that Israel have attacked the headquarters, but everybody knows that the headquarters, he was not there. But there are still, it is in doubt. Having said that, I would say that there is nothing going to change the ongoing war because as we talk right now, the United States have given enough weapon to Israel, ammunition. They have used a 2,000-pound bomb and bombing the south of Beirut. They have taken more than 6-7 buildings, which is considered to be headquarters of Hezbollah party. And then now they are attacking indiscriminately and killing the maximum number of civilians in this target. But I don't see, I think the role of the game has changed, Arti. And Hezbollah now, it's all open war against Israel, whether it is on the Haifa or Tel Aviv or anywhere, they will start their attack retaliation. This is one of the most important area where Israel is giving the pretext that they're attacking Hezbollah stronghold in Beirut. It is among the civilian and they're giving shelter. This is all to deceive the public opinion. Those kind of rocket where you have to launch, where Hezbollah is launching, you need enough space to launch it, and that's impossible to put it in a most congested residential area in Beirut. So I think for the moment, we just have to wait and see what is the response from the leader of Hezbollah and the resistance forces in Yemen.
Right, Dr. Awad, now, like you mentioned, there's another aspect to this. Yes, a terrorist or a terrorist organization considered by the US and the Israel perhaps has been neutralized. But the question of civilian lives that have been lost, although Israel says that they did ask people to move out or evacuate from that area before they started launching their attacks, we do know that there have been civilian casualties. And that is collateral damage when it comes to war, and that still has not been addressed, sir.
I think that is the wrong conception. People understand that Israel is seriously human and loving the peace of the people and doesn't want to kill civilians. What was achieved by Israel in Gaza Strip, as you know, they have already 100% displaced 2.5 million people. They have destroyed 85% of the infrastructure of Gaza. And they are already killed and injured more than 150, plus 12,000 are missing. Do you think that seriously they consider civilians are, that they are taking shelter and all? First, they told you Shifa hospital, there is an underground, then a tunnel. Then they destroyed the hospital. They killed the doctor. They killed everybody. And then they say, oh, where is the tunnels they were talking about? There, the media has to expose the lies on the other side. So even then, when they started killing the telecommunication system, pager, telecommunication, laptops, and talkie-walkie, and tomorrow maybe your washing machine or my TV or your TV can be blown off. And that is, you are killing a militant or you're killing a civilian. You may have killed some of the militants, no doubt about it, but you have killed the majority of them civilian. And Israel, in the first 48 hours, they have killed civilians more than they have killed in 2006. So what does it mean? If you're having a leader who is only wanted this war is himself and his cabinet, Mr. Netanyahu, that the rest of the world does not this war, then beat it. Now bear the consequences.
Right.
You started this war, it's not going to finish according to your own terms.
Right, stay on with us. Ghazali, now, we had seen that Nasrallah especially had been seen as an icon because his messages would be telecast on TV, would be telecast on radio as well. And the Hezbollah has fought several wars against Israel under him. But if this turns out to be true, what is the kind of fallback that Israel can expect?
See, right now, Israel is also bracing for a full-blown war because the way it has proceeded in this entire operation in the last 24 hours, that despite US and France and other countries vehemently asking for de-escalation, Israel is still continued with this operation while talking about peace in the United Nations. An assassination operation was going on in Beirut. So somewhere Israel knows that since Hezbollah has been weakened after a series of explosions in Beirut since Monday, real strikes, a precision strike which Israel calls it, Hezbollah is certainly weaker but not down and out. And we know that how Iran backs them here in Lebanon. Iran also has been supporting Houthis in Yemen. Iraqi Shia militias have been firing drones and rockets from Iraq. So certainly what looks very imminent, that if Iran is a bit willing to drag itself into the war, then a joint attack looks very imminent with the kind of happenings in Beirut right now. But I have a question for Mr. Awad once that, Mr. Awad, do you think that Iran has many a times Iran has been issuing this statement in the last 1 year that after every attack, after every assassination or even attempted assassination, Iran continues to issue a statement saying that Israel has crossed a red line. Now, if we go by Iran's statement, Israel has, I think, has crossed these red lines many a times. Do you think this time Iran will actively get into the play, or will it still operate through its proxies in the Middle East?
Oh, very good questions. I believe that the Iranian is not a question here, Ghazali, of the proxies or a proof. There is an occupation of Lebanese territories which has to be liberated by anybody. So whether Hezbollah or anybody could be in power, they have to liberate it. Secondly, Hezbollah has been getting the support of Iran for years, since 1979 and since 1982 invasion of Lebanon by Israel, as you know, and it was only the Lebanese Hezbollah who could liberate the south of Lebanon from Israeli occupation. So therefore, the war was already on. Iran have made it very clear that Hezbollah cannot be left alone, especially when the rest of the world is supporting Israel. So therefore, I don't see they will be quiet. They may be restraining because of the UN General Assembly, because of the American election. Are they sending good feelers to the Iranian and telling them that to not intervene, because that is what Netanyahu wants to drag you and Hezbollah and Lebanon into an open war. So there could be some restraint, but Iran have made it very clear they will retaliate for the killing of Ismail Haniyeh, and they will not, nobody can stop them. And they do not need a proxy to retaliate. They have done it earlier with the American in Iraq. They have done it earlier with Israel this time. And this time, trust me, they will do it against Israel. But as I said, are we willing to go for all open war? The whole of Europe, the whole of the world is saying no to the war. Who's saying who want the war except Netanyahu?
Right. Thank you, Ghazali and Vailawad, for joining us. Right, Ghazali, I think you have a question for Mr. Awad. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Awad, just another question right now, that yesterday when Mr. Netanyahu was addressing the United Nations, most of the leaders of the Arab nations had left, Palestine and Saudi Arabia to be precise, but other nations as well. Netanyahu showed two maps, with one showing a scarce and other one like that's the hope for the Middle East. In the map which he termed as scarce, he was showing the entire Levant belt of Syria and Lebanon and Palestine. Palestine was no more shown there. West Bank and Gaza was not on the map. Do you think that despite his bold approach towards this occupation, which everybody recognizes, the international forum recognizes, do you think that US will be in any position now to take a moral high ground of talking about de-escalation or a ceasefire, because Netanyahu has been clearly violating those talks or going against whatever the US has been suggesting?
Well, I think you have answered it. And many people raising the question, he should not be having in the UN General Assembly. He should have been in Hague, because there is a case against him, and he should be prosecuted for a crime against humanity, what he did in Gaza and what he's doing in Lebanon currently. But I believe that the Israelis' public opinion, may be the right wing are supporting him, but believe me, rest of the world does not want this war to start, because everybody knows that it's civilian, it is the poor will be dying. So I don't think this man in power, as long as he prolongs this war, he will create a havoc for the American and for the rest of the world. Let me remind you and the viewers, the greater Israel map, which he has been not showing to the rest of the world. Let him show you at the Knesset what he has put on the front door of the Knesset entry, that the map of Israel, Great Israel, from the Euphrates to Sinai Peninsula, which means Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine, the peninsula, and 1/3 of Saudi Arabia is all that territory they are taking and dreaming that they can make a greater Israel and destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque and build up the Solomon Temple where they are planning to. If that is based on ideology, I don't think any country can survive or will be doomed to be based on an ideology, because history has taught us that you have to live in peace, you have to coexist, and war will not give you any peace, and no way you can achieve peace. And perpetual provocation will lead to permanent create in the
Right. Thank you, Mr. Awad, for joining us and giving us that detailed analysis of the situation there in the Middle East. And thank you, Ghazali, for joining us and bringing us those details as well. Now, shifting focus, there's a fresh face-off in the national capital, where the Aam Aadmi Party now says that it will approach the Supreme Court against the election of the 18th member of the MCD Standing Committee. It also said that Delhi Chief Minister Atishi, in fact, had made the announcement stating that their petition will be filed in the Supreme Court, and she said that the Municipal Corporation Act is absolutely clear that the power to call a meeting lies solely with the mayor, and she calls these elections undemocratic.
देखिए, हम बिल्कुल सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे। आज ही सुप्रीम कोर्ट में पिटिशन फाइल होगी, क्योंकि जो चुनाव कल भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने हाउस में कराया है, ये बिल्कुल गैर कानूनी है। दिल्ली नगर निगम का एक्ट बिल्कुल स्पष्ट है कि मीटिंग बुलाने की पावर सिर्फ और सिर्फ मेयर के पास है। अध्यक्षता करने का अधिकार सिर्फ और सिर्फ मेयर और उनकी एब्सेंस में डेप्यूटी मेयर के पास है। तो इस गैर लोकतांत्रिक चुनाव के खिलाफ हम लोग सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे।
I'm being joined by BJP spokesperson Dr. Anil K. Gupta. Thank you for joining us, sir. Now, Mr. Gupta, the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that they don't accept the results of the MCD Standing Committee elections and that they're going to be approaching the Supreme Court. They've also called the results of this undemocratic or illegal.
Yeah, good afternoon to you and all the viewers. See, they are undemocratic and they are not following the constitution. You know, when they will approach the Supreme Court, I don't know, but our leader of opposition in MCD, Sardar Iqbal Singh, has already filed a petition in the Honorable Supreme Court about the contempt to the mayor. You know, the MCD session was held on 26th. The agenda was to hold the election of the 18th member in the standing committee, and they just delayed it with the one plea or the other plea. And when the LG intervened, even then, they did not hold the election, and yesterday the election was held, and one of our councillors won the election of this as the 18th member. See, for last roughly 2 years, they are not able to take care of the citizen of Delhi. You know, the standing committee is a powerful body wherein all the decisions of the projects, the map approval, many financial decisions are taken. But for last 2 years, they are just not caring about Delhi, but the power is only with the mayor. Even the mayor position is illegal because second year the mayor is from the SC community. So they are in fact depriving the SC councillor of their right to become the mayor in the second year. And I think when they will approach, the things will be clear. And MCD is a central act. And MCD is a central act, and if they don't function, the LG has to intervene. But BJP will not allow them to give any trouble to the citizen of Delhi. And I think now next thing is they should, the mayor should order for the meeting of the standing committee so that a chairman and deputy chairman can be made.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for joining us and sharing your thoughts on this development. Shifting focus, questions being raised over law and order situation in the national capital as 3 firing incidents have been reported from different parts of Delhi in the last 24 hours. The first incident of firing was reported from a car showroom in West Delhi's Narayana area. 3 shooters have been identified who are reportedly belonging to Haryana. The police suspect that it was an extortion bid. CCTV visuals show miscreants waving around guns and firing inside the showroom as well. The second incident was at a hotel in Mahipalpur where a biker had opened fire outside a hotel. And in the third incident, a firing was reported at a shop in Nangloi. Now, in the showroom situation, of course, there are 2 CCTV visuals that NDTV has accessed, one from outside the showroom as well as one from inside. The one outside which you're seeing right now shows about the shooters there outside firing at the showroom. About 20 rounds of bullets were fired at the showroom. Inside as well, the miscreants can be seen waving around guns and firing inside the showroom. The police believe that it was an extortion bid in this situation. Right, these are of course the latest details we were tracking for you in terms of the firing incidents in the national capital. This of course raises questions on the law and order situation in the national capital. 3 firing incidents all taken place in the last 24 hours. The first one is the one that we have the most details on at this point. Although the police suspect that all 3 incidents are perhaps extortion bids. The first one has taken place in West Delhi's Narayana area. 3 shooters have been identified who, as you can see, walk into the showroom and fire at the showroom staff there as well. My colleague Anushka joins us with more details. Anushka, if you could quickly take us through the Narayana incident, more details that have come out with the surfacing of the CCTV as well.
Well, certainly it has been an alarming day for the Delhi NCR because we saw a string of firing incidents that took place here within a span of 24 hours. Now, if we talk about the Narayana case, the firing happened around 7:15 p.m. last evening. CCTV footage has surfaced where it can be seen that three armed men can be seen entering the car showroom while one is guarding the door. The other two goes inside the, went inside the showroom. One put the salesperson at the gunpoint while the other started firing 20 rounds of bullet inside the car showroom, creating a panic-like situation for the workers who were inside the car showroom at that moment. While no casualties have been reported in this case so far, this certainly is seems to be a larger part of trend of gang-related violence that has been happening in Delhi NCR. A lot of people are questioning about the law and enforcement in Delhi NCR because we saw 3 incidents took place within the span of 24 hours. One happened at Narayana, the second happened at a hotel in Mahipalpur. A gangster named Goldie Brar has been linked to this whole case. A call to the manager of the hotel was made 1 year ago, and after that we saw that guns were fired at the hotel. The third case is from Nangloi in Delhi, where a sweet shop was targeted. Guns were fired at the sweet shop, and a jailed gangster named Deepak Boxer is said to be linked to this whole case. While the police is working to apprehend the people responsible for this whole incident, the main question that remains here is how long will this gang-related violence keep coming in front of Delhi NCR, and how people, the sense of security that is lying.
Right, Anushka, thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. Of course, the question of law and order does arise in these 3 incidents that are suspected gang war incidents as well. We'll bring you more details on these stories. For now, a short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
For every news from every part of the country, download कीजिए NDTV ऐप। सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है in the world of business, politics, sports and entertainment. देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा in the theatre. Read all about Yudra on the NDTV app. So download now.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
Hello and welcome to India Sense. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. Let's start the show with headlines this Friday evening. First up, an anti-establishment mood grips India's neighborhood after Bangladesh and Pakistan. Sri Lanka is the latest country that is witnessing rising voter resentment due to high living costs and disenchantment with ruling elite. What can New Delhi do in these times? Ahead of the 22nd round of military talks between India and China, reports suggest positive progress on de-escalation and disengagement in the over 4-year standoff between the Himalayan neighbors. Fresh trouble brewing in Pakistan as Pakistan Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif is set to bring a new law to create a federal constitutional court that will supersede the country's Supreme Court. As Sharif tries to shore up the numbers in both houses of parliament, the bill will tame the Pakistani judiciary and end even a modicum of judicial independence. As the conflict in Lebanon deepens, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects ceasefire plans. Reports suggest Israel is planning for a ground invasion that is set to escalate the crisis in the region. And clamour for India to be given a permanent seat at the United Nations grows. 3 out of the 5 P5 members, that's US, UK and France, back India's bid. On to the big story on the show, the growing anti-establishment trend in India's neighborhood. Sri Lankans elected Anura Kumara Dissanayake because he represented an anti-establishment voice. This follows what happened in Bangladesh on the 5th of August when Sheikh Hasina's 50 reign came to an abrupt end. The same script is now playing out in Pakistan with sea of Imran Khan supporters seeking his release. In all these situations, it's the interplay of anti-incumbency with the popular desire for change and economic conditions that disproportionately hurt the poor that was evident. Fractured polity added to the anti-establishment mood. As economic situation remains grim, as in the case of Sri Lanka, Pakistan and Bangladesh, India must brace for volatile electorates as public disenchantment is likely to stay. Before we go ahead, listen in to what Dr. Jaishankar had to say about these grim realities in the neighborhood.
We were doing it as a good neighbor who did not want to see that kind of economic meltdown at our doorstep. In the case of Bangladesh, I would say it's a little bit different. What we have done over the last, particularly over the last decade, is to do projects of various kinds which are good for both of us. That, economic activity overall has picked up, logistics of that region has improved, and I think, both countries have gained a lot out of that. So I would urge you not to be deterministic about it. It's not as though India is seeking to control every political move of every neighbor. That's not how it works.
That's just not how it works, actually. India is far bigger than its neighbors. Its neighboring countries share a border with India, but not with each other. And this is fanning a sense of vulnerability to India's size. India's neighbors are also deeply connected to New Delhi on cultural, religious and civilizational bonds. And as they assert their separate identity as nations, their policies often add to the complexity that is the subcontinent. So what should India do? New Delhi's approach should be to continue the engagement, whether it's on bilateral trade, whether it's on aid or grants, or whether it's the people-to-people connect. As the size of the Indian economy grows to 7 trillion, possibly 10 trillion in coming years, the size of all these engagement options will also grow significantly. But till then, as these smaller neighbors that surround India, they assert their separate identity and position, India will do well to help address the public disenchantment that is the root cause of the anger that we saw in the last couple of months. Shifting focus now to the first wide-angle story on the show, Pakistan's tryst with democracy and constitution. It's been a failed one. Its experiments with electoral framework have always ended with either the popular mandate being stolen or usurped, or worse still, elected prime ministers being behind bars, allowing the Pakistani army to be relevant and at the center of governance and also furthering its anti-India agenda. But what's happening right now in Pakistan could be the very last straw in Pakistan's constitutional framework. Shahbaz Sharif is trying to create a federal court that will sit on top of the Supreme Court of Pakistan, making it redundant. Precipitated by Imran Khan's continued popularity and Shahbaz Sharif's desire to have a pliant judiciary, what he's trying to do along with the army and the entire political class is coming out with a whole host of constitutional amendments. Take a look at this report to know the extent of damage that it could do to Pakistan and its constitution. Imran Khan is popular, and nothing that the Pakistani political establishment does to stop him seems to work. In this year's rigged election, Imran Khan wasn't allowed to contest, and his party was stripped of its symbol too, leading to his members contesting as independents, an order that the Supreme Court later reversed. To ensure there are no more such judicial surprises, Pakistan's political class has come up with the unthinkable, making the country's Supreme Court redundant by creating a federal constitutional court. Known as the Constitutional Package, a legislation is aimed to strip the Supreme Court of its powers to adjudicate on constitutional matters, reducing it to appellate civil and criminal matters. National security issues will not be challenged. The appointment to the FCC will be done by the President and the Prime Minister, and a committee that will effectively end the present collegium system. The age of retirement for Supreme Court justices right now in Pakistan is 65, but for the proposed FCC, the age will be 68.
This will mean most judges would like to extend their careers by being on the right side of the government. The legislative delay is only because Shahbaz Sharif is trying to shore up the numbers, since a constitutional amendment requires 2/3 majority, and the ruling alliance is short by 12 in the lower house and 9 in the upper house. But with all political parties united, it's a matter of time before Pakistan's judiciary is tamed.
Pakistan's constitution has no sanctity. It barely survives 2 presidential terms. So it's hardly a matter of great surprise, but what's happening here, it means that the army's iron grip over the judiciary will be strengthened further. And Imran Khan's supporters will feel even more cheated than what they felt after the 8th of February election. In both these scenarios, there will be more volatility in a state that is fast-tracking its own descent. Second wide-angle story on the show. Prime Minister Modi's peace efforts in Russia-Ukraine conflict are not just limited to creating a conducive environment for talks to take place or restricted to delivering messages from the other side. It is in fact much more. It is in New Delhi's geostrategic interests that the war ends soon, which is why New Delhi's interests are far more. Before we talk about why it matters for New Delhi that this conflict ends soon, listen in to what Ukrainian President Zelensky said when he said that India must continue to play a role.
There is no separate UN charter for BRICS or for the G7. There is no separate Russian-Iranian UN charter or no separate Chinese-Brazilian UN charter. There is one UN charter which unites everyone, must unite everyone. We have to prepare the second peace summit to end the war altogether. And I invite all of you, all principled nations, to join us in this process, all who truly respect the UN Charter. We invite China, we invite Brazil, I have already invited India. We are working with African nations, with all of Latin America, Middle East, Central Asia, Europe, the Pacific region, North America, all.
So why should this matter to India? Well, the longer this war continues, the more likelihood exists that the Sino-Russian collaboration will only grow. In 2023, the Russia-China trade touched $240 billion. It's set to cross $300 billion this year. China is Russia's largest trading partner. Russia is China's 6th largest trading partner. The share of China's currency in the Russian domestic market has grown from 1% 2 years back to a whopping 30%. It's already the currency of trade. And military experts say that the collaboration between these two countries has in fact extended for making attack drones as well. Of course, Russia needs India, but Russia also needs China. And from an economic and military point of view, the longer the escalation goes on and conflict goes on, the likelihood of this partnership between Russia and China growing closer is much higher, which is why, for its own geopolitical situation and commitments, it is very important for New Delhi to play an active role to ensure that this conflict comes to an end. All right, with that, we're slipping into a very short break. We come back on the other side with a very important conversation with Mukesh Aghi on the US-India ties and the semiconductor partnership. Stay with us.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com.
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Buckingham Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमाघरों में। कैसे मारा?
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव is back.
शुरू करते हैं एनडीटीवी का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव। एनडीटीवी युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी। She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है।
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो।
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है, तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ। और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा?
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं, तब इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ को सर।
Welcome back. This is India Sense. Now, Prime Minister Modi's visit to the US led to one of the most consequential agreements between the two countries, that is technical collaboration for creating fabs for national security requirements. This is a first for both US and India. It sets the framework for greater tie-ups between New Delhi and Washington. And joining me in this segment is Mukesh Aghi of USISPF to talk about the bilateral relationship and also the US elections, which are now in their last lap. Right, Mr. Aghi, thanks so much for speaking to NDTV. Let me start by asking you about the India-US relationship. It's amidst the tie-up that has been announced between two countries. It's unprecedented and sets the stage for what else?
So I think you have to look at the our relationship a little broader, and then I'll come down to the specific question on chips. You have a stress point taking place between US and China. And US has realized that its industrial base in manufacturing is in China, not in the United States. And for it to be able to deal in time of in a time of stress, either war or COVID, for example, it needs to be close to having its own industrial base, or with friendshoring, where it can depend on the supply chain. And so keeping that in mind, you have also India-China relationship, which is at a stress point. So keeping that in mind, US and India realize that they need to work together to deal with the assertive and aggressive China. And US also has realized that its population is aging. It doesn't have the capacity to build a large industrial manufacturing base. So it is has decided that it's going to partner with India to build that large industrial base because the population of India is young, it's a very well-educated population, plus the market demand for products being manufactured in India will grow up because it's a $4 trillion economy. It'll become a $5 trillion economy. So keeping that in mind, manufacturing chips is a natural progression. That's one of the initiatives. Today, every chip in the world is designed in India because we don't have the fabs, so they're not manufactured. So that's where US has taken the lead. Okay, let's start with the military chip manufacturing so you can supply each other on the defense side itself. So I think you will see not just on that, you're seeing that in GE jet engines now, partnership with HAL to be manufactured. You will see a lot of other areas. So I think the next few years, you'll see a massive deluge of manufacturing moving by the US companies into India.
That's a very important point. And in fact, staying with technology, Prime Minister Modi met the who's who of big tech in the US. Where do you see the tech collaboration going from here on between US and India?
So I think when you look at the track record, government don't run their businesses very effective and efficiently. And that's where the private sector plays a critical role, especially when you're looking at very high-tech manufacturing. So I think you will see effort both by government of India and US government to bring in private partners. So for example, we're seeing now on the chip side, Tatas are getting involved. You have others getting involved. You look at on the plane manufacturing side, again, Tatas have done partnership with Airbus, with Boeing, with Lockheed. So I think while government will take the initiative, the execution has to come from the private sector.
Right. You mentioned friendshoring at the beginning of this discussion. Donald Trump is promising just that. How much do you think it will have an impact on countries like India if jobs go back to the US?
So I think, if you look at Trump mentioned the same thing when he was the president. Yes, he did impose tariffs on Chinese goods coming in, but who pays for it? It's the consumer. And we already have a inflation in the country we're trying to control. And by putting 60%, 200% tariffs on goods coming in from Mexico or other part, it is going to impact the consumer. And the basically economists are saying that this is not the viable way to build an economy, to build a manufacturing area. So I don't think by putting massive tariff, and we've learned this in India also, by having high barriers, it does not convince the companies to move manufacturing in India. It has to be pull and push strategy, like India has done by setting up PLI scheme to encourage in a positive reinforcement manner for them to set up manufacturing in India. So I think Trump's statements are very political. Past record shows that they were not executed. And I don't see in the future they're getting executed also. So I think India should not worry about from that perspective. It should just continue its momentum and build on what's good for India.
All right, Mr. Aghi, we leave it there. Thanks much for speaking to me on India Sets. Shifting focus. All right, climate change is now not an issue that future generations will have to worry. It's the present generation because it's now a matter of grave concern. The emissions that are being released are now leading to underground fires from locations as disparate as the Arctic to Brazil. And it's the developed nations that cannot shy away from what they have done and must bear responsibility. This report is another grim reminder of the damage that has been done in 200 years of industrialization. Take a look.
This is the Arctic tundra, one of the coldest regions in the world, now home to the worst fire year since 2020. In fact, 8.6 million acres of Arctic tundra have been consumed due to blazes burning across Siberia for months to end. As humanity continues to tinker with the environment, the pushback from Mother Nature is now becoming even more intense. There are now a growing number of underground fires, from Arctic tundra to the peatlands in Indonesia, that move downwards. These emit massive quantities of greenhouse gases, undercutting all efforts to control the climate crisis. Arctic today is getting hotter. In fact, research suggests it's warming faster than any other region on Earth. And the carbon-rich peat under it that protects it from any fire is now drying up fast. In fact, it gets worse. The peat fires increase permafrost thawing, which releases methane, making the Arctic even hotter and continuing this cycle. In the next 2 to 3 decades, scientists say a third of the world's permafrost will disappear due to higher emissions. This could mean everything from present infrastructure like roads, bridges, etc., disappearing to present water bodies like lakes, rivers going underground and creating droughts. If this doesn't set alarm bells ringing, then what will?
All right, on to the quick take segment with crisp editorial views on issues that matter to India. Take a look.
By all indications, Israel's conflict with Lebanon is set to escalate. Israel's stated objective is that it wants to ensure return of all its citizens in the north who were forced to move in the wake of Hezbollah's repeated attacks. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced a ground invasion in Lebanon in coming days. Even as diplomatic community scrambles for solutions to prevent an all-out war, Tel Aviv is yet to come out with a clear political strategy. Its operational achievements have been spectacular in recent days, but to convert them into larger political victories requires a plan. At this stage, all Israel can hope for is a tactical escalation followed by a de-escalation on its own terms. Chinese economy got a booster shot from the government as fears loom large that the world's second largest economy may miss its growth target for the second time in 3 years. Chinese central bank announced major monetary policy stimulus like rate cuts, allowing banks to have more cash and bigger incentives for home purchase to kickstart growth. But cheaper money may not be enough to revive consumer spending due to the continued troubles in the property sector and looming job losses due to poor corporate profits. One-time cash handouts by China is a rare admission that its policies have had little impact. But a drastic fall in revenues from land sales have crippled indebted local governments' finances. And for them to invest in growth-boosting projects, the central government needs to do a lot more. Indian equity markets hit record highs this week as Sensex touched the 85,000 mark and Nifty crossed 26,000, both lifetime highs. These were a tribute to the growing equity culture in India, with a rising number of Indians now investing in markets. India is also witnessing large inflow of funds due to the combination of several factors. Fed rate cut has started a cycle of lower rates that will boost spends. Recession fears related to US economy seems to have reduced now, and positive global growth outlook is now a clear factor. As markets grow, some correction is bound to happen, but the trend is clear. India is said to be one of the largest recipients of foreign inflows, and government must do more to ensure that India remains attractive.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Sense. Thanks so much for watching.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है। बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे। पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव is back.
शुरू करते हैं NDTV का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव, NDTV युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
सो माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी। शी सेड कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है।
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो।
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ। और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा?
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं, तब इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ को सर।
Yuva, Youth for Change.
For every news from every part of the country, डाउनलोड कीजिए NDTV ऐप। सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ बिजनेस, पॉलिटिक्स, स्पोर्ट्स एंड एंटरटेनमेंट। देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा इन द थिएटर। Read all about Yutra on the NDTV app. So download now.
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle of the Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
ए आयो बात जोर। पैसाबाजार.com।
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections.
Good afternoon, welcome you watching NDTV. I'm Vedant Agarwal. Our special focus on the show this afternoon, well, Israel's all-out offensive against Hezbollah. This as Hezbollah chief has been killed, and now also, Iranian strikes, Israeli strikes, I beg your pardon, continue in Iran as well. So we'll get you all the latest on that, but first look at the headlines at this hour. Israeli military confirms Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah has been killed in strikes aimed at Beirut. This as strikes continue in the Middle Eastern country. 3 incidents of firing within just 24 hours. These law and order challenge in the limelight once again. This as NDTV accesses CCTV footage which shows gangsters firing at the showroom. Delhi police allege firings linked to extortion bids. It's the Aam Aadmi Party versus the BJP over MCD standing committee elections. Delhi Chief Minister Atishi says the party will take their legal battle to the top court. Atishi calls yesterday's election results illegal. Days to go for the final phase of election. Jammu and Kashmir, BJP feels its biggest phase. Prime Minister Modi, who campaigns in Jammu, he attacks the Congress for asking for proof during surgical strikes. Congress releases its manifesto for Haryana. 7 focus on women empowerment, also agriculture, youth and farmers. And our lead story this afternoon, well, the Israeli military has confirmed that the strikes aimed at Hezbollah's headquarters in Beirut has killed Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. In fact, Israeli strikes targeted 6 buildings in Beirut's southern suburb of Haryana, marking the largest assault in the Lebanese capital amid nearly a year of the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Now remember, Nasrallah has been at the helm of the Lebanese militant group for the past 3 decades, significantly strengthening its position as one of the most formidable paramilitary organizations in the Middle East. In fact, the IDF has confirmed this on social media as well. This is the latest that we're getting, is that Israel has hacked into the Beirut airport control tower. So this could be a major offensive as well as far as Beirut is concerned. Remember, this is a new front, perhaps, as many would describe it, in the entire situation in the Middle East. But what has been most significant is the killing of the Hezbollah chief. Let me go straight across to my colleague Mohammad Ghazali, who tracks foreign affairs for us. So Ghazali, very important there that the Hezbollah chief has been killed, and also now Israel hacking into the Beirut airport control tower. What's the latest that you have?
See, we all know that how Israel is technologically advanced and much more advanced than what we could see the technical capabilities of Iran or even Lebanon. So certainly it's also a ploy, because Israel doesn't want that Hezbollah should regroup after the reported assassination of Mr. Nasrallah. So though Hezbollah has been refuting all these reports, and they claim that perhaps Mr. Nasrallah was not in the building, or he had left, or he had survived the assassination attempt. Israel claims that Mr. Nasrallah has been killed. And now Israel also is sensing that since Monday, since those pager blast, walkie-talkie explosions and all, many of the foot soldiers and senior commanders of Hezbollah have been killed. And this is the right time to at least go for the offensive and ensure that there is complete elimination of Hezbollah. Israel had been planning that for Hamas for the last 1 year. They have not achieved it yet. But by killing Mr. Nasrallah, it's a very significant development. It's a big achievement for Israel, because this was more of a deception for its opponents. While Mr. Netanyahu was addressing the United Nations yesterday, he had already given the permission to the Israeli Air Force to go for this strike. Now, what could happen next? We have not received any comment from the Iran supreme leader, because Iran is the main supporter of these groups in Middle East, of what it calls the axis of resistance, and what Israel calls the axis of evil. So right now, their aerial strikes are still going on in other areas of Beirut and different areas of Lebanon. Israel doesn't want to give any time for Hezbollah and its leftover leaders to regroup, yet Hezbollah is still firing rockets towards Israeli territory. The situation has every potential to escalate right now, but we'll have to see whether Iran and its other proxies or other militias in the Middle East will all launch a joint operation against Israel or not, which doesn't look very likely, because even after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, Iran had not gone for a full-blown war or a very potential retaliation which everybody was expecting. So Iran has been trying deliberately to keep itself away from the war and operate in the Middle East through its other militias like Houthis in Yemen, the Shiite militias in Iraq, or even Hezbollah. But this is a big damage for Iran as well, because in Syria, Hezbollah was operational in Syria as well. Hassan Nasrallah was one of the prominent figures in that particular region in Levant belt of the Middle East. And we would see that how he used to address the nation. And Hezbollah was seen as a state within a state in Lebanon. And now, since his assassination, if the reports of Israeli media or claims by the IDF is confirmed, then certainly it's a big blow. But has Hezbollah been eliminated? That is a far gone conclusion for now, because these groups regroup. They have enough members to launch an attack, but certainly the group is appearing as leaderless for now.
That's very important perspective, in fact, Ghazali, that you're giving us. In fact, as you also pointed out, that Nasrallah was perhaps the most prominent figure in Lebanon, perhaps the only one with the capability of brokering peace or waging a war. But his assassination, as you said, has dealt a severe blow to Lebanon and, of course, Iran as well. But what next? This seems now like a multi-front war into a wider regional conflict as well, with West Asia pushed to the precipice, completely.
Yeah, if you see the developments in the last 24 hours, Mr. Netanyahu was showing two maps in United Nations yesterday. One was an curse or evil, and the other was something which Netanyahu preferred, in which he showed those potential allies of Middle East who have either normalized relations with Israel or are in the process of normalizing relations with Israel. But ironically, most of the Arab leaders who are part of the United Nations or the states they represent, they had all walked out before Netanyahu rose to address the United Nations yesterday. But now, the Jordan's foreign minister yesterday told in an open session in the United Nations that we can guarantee security to Israel if Israel agrees for a two-state solution. But Israeli Prime Minister has been accused of having another plans. That other plans is of greater Israel, expansionism and occupying more land. So all eyes will be now on IDF for the Israeli Air Force and the Defense Forces, whether they would go for a ground invasion in Lebanon to completely eliminate or engage with the Hezbollah fighters on ground, because they did that with Hamas in Gaza for the last 1 year, and they have not been able to eliminate Hamas from Gaza. Hamas still continues to fire rockets from Gaza towards Israel, and the same goes with Hezbollah. Mr. Netanyahu also said that until and unless all the operational goals of Israel is achieved, the war will continue. He seems to be in no mood to accept any kind of truce, a kind of pause or a ceasefire with either Hamas or with Hezbollah in Lebanon. So certainly both parties, we all say that both parties are willing for war, but certainly Israel looks for a full-blown war with both these on both these fronts, one with Hamas, which is already going on for the last 1 year, and also with Hezbollah. But with the assassination of Nasrallah, all eyes will be on these groups, whether they are ready for the war, whether they retaliate, whether how and when they will retaliate towards Israel.
Ghazali, as you mentioned earlier as well, that Iran is perhaps looking at this very, very closely. In fact, Iran's supreme leader has also been taken to safety. In fact, people, civilians from hospitals, etc., are also being evacuated. What is the role of Iran in this entire conflict? Break it down for us.
See, Iran is also a global superpower, and Iran is also an international pariah because West has put so many sanctions against it. And now Iran is getting closer with two other superpowers, China and Russia. Iran has been very actively involved when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war by providing drones to Russia, by also sort of repairing those faulty drones or damaged drones which Russia has been using against Ukraine in the war. Iran also happens to be the source of aid, arms and ammunition for all these militias or all these groups who are operating in Middle East, like I mentioned, for Houthis in Yemen, for Hezbollah in Lebanon, and for other militias in Iraq. Now, Iran, through Syria and Iraq, manages to send these weapons to these groups. But now, since Israel has also sort of hacked the coordination system at the Beirut airport, and it has also warned, the Israeli Defense Forces have also warned Beirut to ensure that no civilian flights or civilian airports should not be used for military purposes. That is a kind of warning which Israel feels that after this attack, Iran will try to push for more weapons in that region, and that is why this airport has to be controlled. And Israel has earlier damaged the Beirut airport back in 2006 when the war had broke out between Hezbollah and Israel. Israel continues to attack the airport in Syria, fearing the same thing, that Iran pushes weapons through these spaces. So it looks very likely now that Iran is facing a lot of pressure. It's a battle of perception as well, because if Iran doesn't retaliate now, its proxies in this region will think that perhaps the leadership is not willing to retaliate, is not willing to cooperate with them. And it will be a big disappointment for these groups like Hamas and Hezbollah who have been fighting against Israel.
Absolutely. Ghazali, thanks very much for joining us with that very comprehensive update. As Ghazali is reporting, well, perhaps almost like a wider regional conflict. Now Iran watching this very, very closely. Iran's supreme leader has been taken to safety. But joining me on the show also is Zaki Zaidi, former researcher at IDSA Middle East, analyst as well. Thanks very much, Mr. Zaidi, for being with us. How do you look at these developments? It seems like it is now escalated into a wider regional conflict with multiple fronts now, and Israel's message also seems to be very clear. In fact, they've said that this is not our last tool in the toolbox, in our arsenal, and we are going to go for anybody who poses a threat to Israel. How do you read into this?
Hi, thank you for having me on your show. First of all, this is a very, very big blow to Iran.
Yes.
What they call as the axis of resistance. And Hassan Nasrallah was a very, very prominent leader and very prominent part of that axis of resistance, the leader of Hezbollah, like a very charismatic leader from the Lebanese population, and part of resistance that Iran calls as axis of resistance. After this incident, first, there is a very high likelihood that this whole region could plunge in a full-scale war. And there is a very extreme pressure on Iran to respond, at least because after the killing of Ismail Haniya and then possible killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the members of the Axis are looking up to Iran to defend them, at least. And just to understand that how dangerous it could be for the whole region. Yesterday, United Nations Security Council had a special meeting on the issue of Gaza, but it was overwhelmed with the issue of Lebanon because of this very intense strikes in Beirut, which possibly killed Nasrallah. One thing I would like to add that the Israeli linked military accounts and then the news channels and the newspapers are saying that Nasrallah has been confirmed killed. But I take it with a pinch of salt because Nasrallah is his security is paramount to the Axis, and clarifying its status until unless he's secured, whether he's injured or like that, they are not going to say it. And Hezbollah till now has not put any official statement of his status. So he could be possibly killed, he could be possibly injured, or he might be unharmed. So we still don't know.
Though
so
they've said that they've lost contact with him since last night, but as you said, that this has to be taken with a pinch of salt, given the fact that these are still claims of the IDF. Perhaps also in their bid to send out a larger message that Israel is going to go for all its enemies. But what does it mean for the larger conflict, given the fact that West Asia has almost been pushed to a precipice completely now, with multiple fronts in the war? What do you see as a possible solution to this? Because, of course, the fact of the matter is that it's also innocent civilians that are being killed in these airstrikes.
See, most of the, especially the Western countries also, they have warned Arab countries that Prime Minister Netanyahu has been very desperate for war, a regional war in the region. And he very dearly wishes to drag US into the conflict and to have a direct US-Iranian conflict. And after this escalation, it is very difficult to say that which direction the region can possibly go, and which is very less likely that Hezbollah is going to back down or Iran, because it's a matter of prestige for Iran. And it has the kind of prestige, the image, the pro-resistance image it has built in the region for over years. Iran cannot let it go. And we have to wait till the official confirmation that what is the status of Hassan Nasrallah and what is the response of Iran. Then only we can signal that which way direction this region could go. Because there is a very, very high possibility that this region could plunge in a full-scale war with very devastating consequences.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Mr. Zaidi, for joining us with your perspective there. Certainly extremely concerning there, multiple parallel developments, and Israel saying that this is not the end of it. This is not the last tool in our arsenal, and we're going to go for anybody and everybody who threatens Israel. Looking at some more news now, well, in the national capital, in the Rangpuri area, bodies of 5 members of the same family were found under what the police called suspicious circumstances. The incident took place on Friday. The police and fire department teams were at the scene. In fact, the door was locked from the inside, is what the police have said. They had to break it open. In fact, inside they found 5 bodies and also discovered packets of Selphos, which essentially is a poisonous substance, 5 glasses and a spoon at the scene as well. essentially pointing out to a suicide, but that has not been confirmed by the police yet. Now, the deceased are identified as Hira Lal and his 4 daughters. It's reported that about a year ago, Hira Lal's wife, who was suffering from cancer, passed away. Listen in to what the neighbors of the family had to say and about this suspicious incident.
कुछ 6-8 महीने पहले की बात है। उनका मिसेज जो था वो भी बीमार था, हॉस्पिटल में उनकी डेथ हो गया। उसके बाद से इनकी फैमिली जो है किसी से बातचीत नहीं करता था, कभी नहीं बात करेंगे। जैसे मैं सामने यहाँ खड़ा हूँ, मैं पड़ोसी वहाँ से गुजर रहा, कोई बातचीत कभी हुआ ही नहीं, कभी नाम पता भी नहीं पूछे।
उनको देख के लगता था कि
उनको देखने लगता था, हाँ, मानसिक रूप से बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान थे।
दिल्ली के रंगपुर इलाके से एक बेहद ही दिल दहला देने वाली घटना सामने आई है, जहां पर एक ही परिवार के 5 सदस्यों की संदिग्ध परिस्थितियों में जो शव हैं वो बरामद हुए हैं। दरअसल ये घटना शुक्रवार सुबह की है। 10:30 बजे के करीब दिल्ली पुलिस को एक कॉल जाती है कि कोई भी दरवाज़ा नहीं खोल रहा है और अजीब सी गंध आ रही है। इस वक्त मेरे पीछे ये वही मकान है, C4 ये वो मकान है, और यहाँ पर दिल्ली पुलिस ने भी अब एक स्टिकर लगा दिया है, साथ ही दरवाजे पर ताला भी लगा दिया है। दिल्ली पुलिस के साथ साथ फायर की टीम यहाँ मौके पर पहुंची, क्योंकि जो दरवाज़ा है वो अंदर से बंद था, तो ऐसे में धक्का देके दरवाजे को तोड़ा गया। और जब अंदर गए तो देखा कि 4 लड़कियां और साथ ही एक मेल जो शव है वो बरामद किया गया। पता चला कि वो उनके पिता हैं और उनकी 4 बेटियां हैं। पिता की पहचान फिलहाल हीरा लाल नाम से हुई है, और जो कि कारपेंटर का काम करते थे और आसपास के स्पाइनल इंजरी हॉस्पिटल में, लेकिन काफ़ी समय से वो भी अपने काम पर नहीं जा रहे थे। और ऐसे में जानकारी पुलिस से जो मिली है, शुरुआती जांच में पता चला है कि जो हीरा लाल है उनकी पत्नी का निधन हो गया था तकरीबन 1 साल पहले, क्योंकि वो कैंसर की मरीज़ थी। उसके बाद से वो काफ़ी परेशान रहने लग गए थे। जो उनकी 4 बेटियां थी वो चारों दिव्यांग थी, तो ऐसे में उन्हें रोज़ अस्पताल लेकर आना जाना भी करते थे। और आसपास के जो पड़ोसी है उन्होंने बताया है कि वो किसी से भी यहाँ पर बात नहीं करते थे। जब एफएसएल टीम मौके पर पहुंची तो पता चला कि यहाँ पर सेल्फोर्स के कुछ सैशे और पैकेट पड़े हुए थे, साथ ही साथ 5 गिलास और 1 चम्मच भी मौके से बरामद हुआ है। चम्मच में एक अजीब सा लिक्विड भी मिला है, जिसको एफएसएल टीम यहाँ से कलेक्ट करके लेकर गई है। लेकिन बताया ये जा रहा है कि जो डॉक्टर्स की टीम थी, फोरेंसिक डॉक्टर्स की जो टीम थी, वो यहाँ मौके पर पहुंची थी। उन्होंने भी पहली तफ्तीश में यही लग रहा है कि ये आत्महत्या का मामला है, और पुलिस की जो शुरुआती तफ्तीश अभी तक हुई है उसमें भी यही लग रहा है कि ये आत्महत्या का मामला है। लेकिन फिलहाल सभी के सभी जो एफएसएल की टीम थी, सारे सबूत यहाँ से लेकर के फोरेंसिक के लिए भेज दिए गए हैं।
And moving now to the big political headline from Karnataka. Well, the Muda heat continues on Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, who remains defiant. This is the BJP is only upping the ante. The BJP has, of course, been demanding Chief Minister Siddaramaiah's resignation on moral grounds. In fact, now a Union Minister, Union Minister Prahlad Joshi has also weighed in. In fact, he says that the Chief Minister should immediately resign, given the fact that the High Court has given its verdict. Take a look at what the Union Minister had to say, and then Pratibha with the latest.
He has to resign. There is no other option. They are trying to corner and frighten the governor, which is unacceptable. No less than High Court has clearly given its verdict, and it is also said that if person would not have been in power or in the seat, he could not have get such an opportunity and such a facility. This is what clearly High Court has said. That's why he should immediately resign.
Well, the political face-off between the BJP and the Congress has been on ever since the Muda allegations against Chief Minister Siddaramaiah surfaced. And we're talking of the FIR that has been registered by the Lokayukta yesterday against Siddaramaiah. And we are also talking about a day when one of the courts in Bengaluru, the Special Court for Public or People's Representatives, has ordered for an FIR to be filed against Nirmala Sitharaman as well. And this has set off a political blame game of sorts, with Siddaramaiah stating that when there is an FIR to be registered against one of the central leaders, another FIR that has already been registered against another central leader like HD Kumarasamy, why don't you people ask them to resign before seeking my resignation? This statement of Siddaramaiah comes amidst calls by the BJP as well as the JDS leaders demanding his resignation and also seeking a CBI probe. We are talking of the two agencies, the Lokayukta as well as the CBI. The question around whether it is independent, whether it can conduct an independent probe has also been on as a political flashpoint of sorts. On the other hand, we also have BJP's senior leader Prahlad Joshi, who has hit back at Chief Minister Siddaramaiah and has said that he has no other option but to resign. He has to still read the order copy with respect to Nirmala Sitharaman's order.
All right, so that huge political slugfest there in Karnataka. But we'll take a short break now. News continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola RERA 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
The Israeli Defense Forces claim Hezbollah chief Nasrallah has been killed along with the top leadership of the militia. Shocking incidents of firing reported across the national capital. 3 incidents just in 24 hours. Punjab BJP slugfest over the MCD Standing Committee elections. Prime Minister Modi campaigns in Jammu and he attacks the Congress for asking proof for the surgical strike.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
For every news from every part of the country, डाउनलोड कीजिए NDTV ऐप। सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ बिजनेस, पॉलिटिक्स, स्पोर्ट्स एंड एंटरटेनमेंट। देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा इन द थिएटर। रीड ऑल अबाउट युद्रा ऑन द NDTV ऐप। सो डाउनलोड नाउ।
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle of Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Election sun rises on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव is back.
शुरू करते हैं एनडीटीवी का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव। एनडीटीवी युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी। She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है।
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो।
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है, तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ। और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा?
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं, तब इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ को सर।
Yuva, youth for change.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Election sunrises on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history.
Hello friends and welcome back to another fresh episode of your favorite show Tech with TG. This is the show basically जहाँ पे what we do is essentially we compress all the information, जो भी टेक्नोलॉजी है, जो भी गैजेट्स हैं, जो के पीछे की साइंस है, हम उसको कंप्रेस करते हैं and kind of present to you in a very nice fashion. अभी 60 एपिसोड से ज्यादा टाइम हो गया एंड इतनी ज्यादा आदत हो गई है ना ऑफ कंप्रेसिंग थिंग्स कि हमने हमारी आदत को ही एक एपिसोड बना दिया है. Well guys, today it's time to discuss and know more about the science of shrinking technology. कैसे टेक छोटा छोटा होता जा रहा है over the years and how amazing it gets as we look into the future as well. बहुत मजा आने वाला है. तो अपना आसपास ध्यान घुमाते हुए look at the smallest piece of tech that you can find around you. मेरा नाम है गौरव. You are watching Tech with TG. तो जल्दी से आगे बढ़ते हैं. चलिए शुरू करते हैं. So So friends, unlike our aspirations for a bigger bank balance, maybe bigger muscles and also bigger cars, अगर हम बात करते हैं टेक की तो basically it's shrinking no matter where you look. मतलब just take an example of a computer from years ago. उस टाइम पे कंप्यूटर के लिए पूरा बंगला बनाना पड़ता था जिसमें कंप्यूटर पूरा रह के काम करेगा, मतलब as big as a house. Today computers are so tiny कि हम कई बार तो उनको रख के भूल जाते हैं. मोबाइल फोन्स की बात कर लेते हैं तो द ओल्ड मोबाइल फोन्स वर सो बिग एंड सो हेवी कि शायद आपको 2 हाथों से उसको यूज करना पड़े और शायद ज्यादा लंबा आप यूज भी ना कर पाओ. बट टुडे 2 हाथ नहीं चाहिए, इनफैक्ट आप एक पॉकेट में 2 फोन्स कैरी करते हो बड़े कंफर्टेबल तरीके से. हाँ, ओके, आई गेट द आइडिया कि छोटे वाले फोन्स जो हैं, स्मॉल स्क्रीन फोन्स, बेसिकली दे आर डाइंग. देन अगेन इट कम्स टू द फैक्ट कि मे बी पीपल प्रेफर फोन्स विद बिगर स्क्रीन्स फॉर मीडिया कंजम्पशन. बट इन अ नटशेल अगर आप देखोगे ना तो आपके फोन्स भी काफी श्रिंक हो गए हैं, काफी स्लीक हो रहे हैं विद ईच जनरेशन कमिंग अप. ये काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है. आवर जर्नी फ्रॉम व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड डेवलपिंग दीज न्यू मॉडर्न मार्वल्स, वहां से लेके आज तक इट्स बीन क्वाइट फैसिनेटिंग. मतलब मेरा कई बार इतना मन करता है कि लेट्स से वी आर एबल टू डेवलप अ टाइम मशीन और हम जाएं 1950s में और देखें वहाँ के कंप्यूटर्स, या फिर 1950s का कोई आदमी अगर आज आके आज की दुनिया देखे तो आई एम श्योर दिल बी अ स्टेट ऑफ शॉक फ्रॉम बोथ द साइड्स. आई मीन जस्ट कंपेयर द साइज ऑफ कंप्यूटर्स. ठीक है, फंक्शनैलिटी या फीचर्स को अगर हम इग्नोर कर दें, जस्ट लुकिंग एट द साइज ऑफ 2 items from years apart, it's a night and day. आप पुराने कैमरास को देखो, आज के कैमरास को देखो, पुराने जो हैं सुपर कंप्यूटर्स को देखो, आज के सुपर कंप्यूटर्स को देखो, पुराने टीवीज को देखो, आज के टीवीज को देखो. I mean, things are completely transforming. अब आपको लग रहा होगा कि हम ऐसा क्यों कर रहे हैं? What's the reason behind investing so much into developing these small electronics? Well, इसके 2 obvious answers हैं.
गैजेट्स और टेक्नोलॉजी के श्रिंकिंग यानी मिनिचराइजेशन के काफी बेनिफिट्स हैं. दुनिया का पहला मोबाइल फोन कॉल एक डायनाटैक 8000X फोन पे हुआ था. फॉर कॉन्टेक्स्ट, ये फोन 1.1 किलोग्राम्स का था एंड वाज रफली 9 इंचेस टॉल. Compare this to Samsung's flagship phone, which weighs 239 grams only and it is just 12.1 mm thin. And yes, हम Galaxy Z Fold 6 की बात कर रहे हैं. In fact, it's only 5.6 mm thin when it is unfolded. From a phone that required 2 hands to a phone that folds into 2 slabs on top of each other and yet आपकी pocket में fit हो जाता है. This is just one example of what the miniaturization of tech has helped achieve. Portability and convenience. छोटे gadgets टेक्नोलॉजी को accessible बनाते हैं. ये इनकी फंक्शनैलिटीज को हमारे एवरीडे लाइफ में इंडिस्पेंसिबल बना देते हैं. Tasks like checking emails, making video calls, using wearables to monitor health metrics, using GPS technology to avoid traffic and navigating to a destination, ये सब इसीलिए पॉसिबल हो पाया है क्योंकि ये सारी टेक्नोलॉजीज मिनिएचराइज हो गई हैं. Second major benefit of this shrinking is the increase in performance and energy efficiency. While you can notice this easily in everyday devices like phones, laptops, and even Medicare equipment, fields like aerospace have also benefited vastly. छोटे और more efficient components के चलते overall aircrafts का weight कम हो गया है. Payload capacity better हो गई है and we can now plan more ambitious projects on Earth and beyond.
फ्रेंड्स, अभी टाइम फॉर अ रियली टाइनी शॉर्ट ब्रेक. अब देखो, जब एपिसोड ही है मिनिचराइजेशन के ऊपर और छोटे छोटे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के ऊपर तो ब्रेक एकदम छोटा होगा. बट ब्रेक के बाद आपके लिए कुछ और एक्साइटिंग होगा और जानने के लिए अबाउट द साइंस ऑफ श्रिंकिंग टेक्नोलॉजी. सी यू आफ्टर द शॉर्ट ब्रेक.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है. तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर. लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है.
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं.
पैसाबाजार.com.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV news app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. the NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पर डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle of Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
For every news from every part of the country, download कीजिए NDTV app. सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ बिजनेस, पॉलिटिक्स, स्पोर्ट्स एंड एंटरटेनमेंट। देखना ना भूले हमारी मूवी युद्रा इन द थिएटर। रीड ऑल अबाउट युद्रा ऑन द NDTV ऐप। सो डाउनलोड नाउ।
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव इज बैक।
शुरू करते हैं NDTV का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव, NDTV युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी। She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है।
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो।
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है, तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ। और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा?
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं, तब इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ को सर।
Yuva, Youth for Change.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
have been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Election sun rises on the proverbial paradise.
Hello friends, welcome back after the break to your favorite show of technology, Tech with TG, जहाँ पे मेरा नाम है गौरव aka Technical Guruji, but you can call me TG for a fact, क्योंकि हम छोटा जो है इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स को करते जा रहे हैं, तो why not नाम को छोटा करते हैं. I mean short forms are anyway good, easy, recognizable by me, you know, very easily. TG बोलोगे, मैं आपकी तरफ देख के आपसे बात करूंगा. So basically अभी ब्रेक से पहले अगर हमने बात किया छोटे छोटे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स के बारे में, छोटी छोटी टेक्नोलॉजीज के बारे में, हमने देखा how's the timeline been of the development of these gadgets from this big to maybe this small. At the same time हमने इसके कुछ obvious benefits के बारे में भी जाना. But now it's time to go a bit deep and talk to an expert to know more about this topic.
Hi guys, I'm Hardik Singh. I'm the ASUS APAC TPR, which is technical PR for you people. बहुत ही छोटे और जटिल चीज़ें हैं ये ट्रांजिस्टर्स, but इसका स्टार्ट बहुत अच्छी जगह से हुआ था, जहाँ पे इसमें जो ट्रांजिस्टर्स हैं वो एक 1950s और 1960s में इनकी खोज आई थी, तब से इनका मॉडर्नाइजेशन शुरू हुआ है. मेन चीज़ जो इन कंप्यूटर्स के साथ या इन ट्रांजिस्टर्स के साथ है कि इन ट्रांजिस्टर्स की वजह से ही आजकल की सारी टेक्नोलॉजी चलती है, चाहे वो आपके लैपटॉप्स हों, आपके पीसीज हों, फोन्स हों, यहाँ तक कि आपके LCD जिस पे आप ये पिक्चर या ये वीडियो देख पा रहे होंगे, वो सब कुछ ट्रांजिस्टर्स पे चलता है. इन द अर्ली 1950s जब वी स्टार्टेड विद computers, the early computers, they were size of a room, एकदम रूम के बराबर जितने बड़े होते थे, और उसमें जो वैक्यूम ट्यूब्स होती थी जिनमें हम डेटा स्टोर करते थे, वो ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 4 फीट के, 2 फीट के, 3 फीट के होते थे, बहुत बड़े होते थे, बहुत भारी होते थे, huge, and they required a ton of electricity. They used to produce a lot of heat as well. तो इस सब के चलते they were very inefficient, और उनमें काम बहुत थोड़ा सा ही हो पाता था. They were never very powerful, they were never very efficient. But slowly we developed technologies of semiconductors, which are basically halfway through. तो आपके पास कंडक्टर्स होते हैं, जैसे कि मेटल्स, आप सुन रहे, आपने सबने मेटल जानते हैं, आप सब जानते होंगे मेटल कंडक्टर होता है, और एक नॉन कंडक्टिंग, जैसे लकड़ी इज नॉन कंडक्टिंग, वैसे ही सेमी कंडक्टर्स मटेरियल होते हैं जो कुछ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पास करते हैं और कुछ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी रोक लेते हैं. जैसे 70s 80s में सेमीकंडक्टर आए तो आपके चिप इतने बड़े बड़े हो गए. आपने अगर पुराने ट्रांजिस्टर्स देखे होंगे तो पुराने ट्रांजिस्टर्स में बड़े बड़े चिप होते हैं, उनको ऐसे लगाते थे, वैसे ऐसा कीड़े जैसे देखते थे, बड़े बड़े कैपेसिटर्स होते थे. अगर आपने कोई पुराना कंप्यूटर, पुराना टीवी या पुराना रेडियो खुला देखा हो तो उसमें वैसा चीज़ें होती थी, और उनको हम लोगों ने हमारे साइंटिस्ट वगैरह लोगों ने छोटा करके बहुत छोटा कर दिया, मिनिचराइज कर दिया, उसको इतना छोटा कर दिया कि वो आपके नाखून के बराबर फिट हो जाए. तो बहुत सारे सर्किट, बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे सर्किट को हम नाखून जितना छोटा कर पाए, और वो जो नई टेक्नोलॉजी है वो नई टेक्नोलॉजी आज के टाइम में हमारे लैपटॉप्स, फोन्स, टीवीज इन सबको चलाती है। इवन आपकी कारों में भी जो चिप्स लगी हुई हैं वो सब ऐसे ही बनाई जाती है। जो गॉर्डन मूर थे, इंटेल में काम करते थे, in 1965 he stated something like number of transistors on a microchip double approximately every 2 years, and this creates more powerful processors without increasing physical size. So you can have more transistors every 2 years in a same size. तो आप एक ही साइज डबल ट्रांजिस्टर्स करते जा रहे हैं। आज के टाइम में ये मूर लॉ थोड़ा फेल आ रहा है बिकॉज हमने बहुत सारे ट्रांजिस्टर्स बढ़ दिए हैं, बट जो हमारी नैनो टेक्नोलॉजी है या जो नैनोटेक जो हम बात करते हैं वो इसी से आधारित है। जितना छोटा सर्किट है उतनी जल्दी उसमें से इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पास करती है। तो अगर आप 7 नैनोमीटर की बात करें तो जो डिस्टेंस बिटवीन सर्किट्स है वो 7 नैनोमीटर का है, और नैनोमीटर बहुत छोटा होता है। जो ट्रांजिस्टर्स हैं वो बेसिकली बहुत सारे सर्किट्स का एक कंबाइंड ग्रुप है, उसे ट्रांजिस्टर कहते हैं। एक सर्किट नहीं है, वो मल्टीपल सर्किट्स हैं, उनको एक साथ कंबाइन कर दिया, वो ट्रांजिस्टर। अब उस ट्रांजिस्टर को पहले वो इतने बड़े होते थे वो ट्रांजिस्टर, अब वो इतने बड़े से आपके बाल के भी छोटे साइज के। जब आप इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पास कराते हैं तो एक सर्किट से दूसरे सर्किट को कनेक्ट करना है। जितना पास का सर्किट होगा, जितना छोटा सर्किट का डिस्टेंस होगा, उतनी जल्दी आप इलेक्ट्रिसिटी पास करा पाएंगे, उतनी कम हीट जनरेट होगी, उतनी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ जाएगी और उतनी बैटरी भी कम यूज इस्तेमाल होगी। इसलिए जितने हम नए फोन्स यूज कर पा रहे हैं उनमें बैटरी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ गई है, उनकी परफॉर्मेंस बढ़ गई है क्योंकि फास्टर ट्रांसफर रेट है, और उसके साथ साथ वो थोड़े से कम गर्म होते हैं। जो चिप अपने आप में वो थोड़ी सी कम वो ज्यादा एफिशिएंट है तो कम गर्म होती है। तो छोटी चीजें और हैं जिसको मैं टच करना चाहूंगा। वन इज द मटेरियल साइंस। currently everything we have is made up of silicon, and there are scientists who are trying to figure out different other materials which can be used for this. कल को हम ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि हम ये ग्लास में या किसी और सब्सटेंस में सर्किट्स बनाने शुरू करें, पर अभी के लिए सिलिकॉन इज द मोस्ट एप्ट एलिमेंट for making circuits or chips for example, and in sab ko jab combine karke hum integrated circuits different बनाते हैं, तो that is what makes our current modern day laptops and products. I'm trying to explain this the easiest way possible. There is much more complexity in this system, but I'm trying to give a very layman approach. The major problem we have in shrinking down these circuits to a smaller size, and why the Moore's law is failing today is one very new thing which we have found after doing all of this for so many years is quantum tunneling. Now, quantum tunneling is an effect where the circuits are so small that the electron, which is because electricity is made up of electrons, it actually, instead of passing from one circuit to another, like this circuit, these circuits should connect, right? Instead of passing from here to here, it just jumps off. It just leaves the entire system altogether. And this means that this electron, which should have been powered, connected here, is now going to a different circuit altogether, giving you a false or a error in the application. और quantum tunneling में एक और जो चीज हो गई है, because we are looking at a very new age problem, तो उसकी वजह से हम लोग अभी के लिए बहुत धीमे बढ़ रहे हैं आगे। हम पहले बहुत जल्दी बढ़ रहे थे इन सर्किट्स। हम हर साल थोड़े almost half size circuit कर रहे थे, and currently we are at 3 nanometers. There have been some developments in 1 nanometer circuits as well, but those are very small and they are not consumer focused or commercially used at the moment. Whenever we make new chips, first of all there is a lot of R&D which goes that they are performing correctly, and every time we go from a higher let's say from 5 nanometer to let's say 3 nanometer today, the chipsets are actually made smaller, but the thing is they're in the same space as before, giving them enough space to breathe, as in to have some dissipation of heat, so that they can dissipate heat easily. And uske saath saath there are multiple measures inside the chip, both on a thermal level as well as on an efficiency level, which ensures ke wo sahi chal raha hai. The miniaturization part is the key here, because I can explain this in three different examples. So let's start with the user. अगर हम main अपने आप की बात करें, users की बात करें, तो for regular users the miniaturization has been a boon, because now you have smartwatches. पहले it was never a thing. आपने कभी सोचा नहीं होगा, you would have never thought कि you would be wearing smartwatches or wearing smart goggles, or maybe have a small puck-like thing which will sit in your bag, which will be a GPS tag. Crazy things. This was not possible before. अगर हम इसे business perspective से देखें, from business perspective, it's now become slightly difficult to make the products, but at the same time, the products can go in different variations. You have chips which are not just powering your phones, your laptops and TVs. There are chips they are powering your Wi-Fi washing machine or a Wi-Fi microwave oven. And finally, last part which I want to discuss is the environment, because all of these things we talked about, all of these things, they require a lot of materials to make, and it is at some level more environment friendly, because the transistors are getting smaller, the productions is much more tighter. It does not waste as many those metals. So all of that combined is only going to help the ecosystem. All this technology in future will bring everybody a little more closer, because आप जो देख पा रहे हैं, या basically हम just देख पा रहे हैं, there is a whole generation of people जिन्होंने पहले कभी लैपटॉप नहीं लिया है या पहले कभी स्मार्टफोन नहीं खरीदा, और वो पहली बार स्मार्टफोन या पहली बार लैपटॉप खरीद पा रहे हैं. All this has solved the digital divide in a way that more penetration is going through, more people are buying these laptops, and more digital India stuff is happening. But that is for now. Like that is something which we are happy doing right now, and it is happening. But in the future, it might be even more. If you consider what all being done today and what all can be done 50 or 100 years from now, it will be a complete shift of how technology will be working. Currently, we are already talking about a technology called embedded technology. Embedded technology as in आपके ब्रेन में हम चिप इम्प्लांट कर दें, आपके हाथ पे आपका सेल फोन या जो आपका मोबाइल वगैरह है वो आपके हाथ में ऐसा पतला सा चिप या टैटू जैसा बना देंगे. These are technologies which are being experimented with. A lot of these things combined is what you will see in the future. Like you will see computing at a molecular level, where smaller structures which are smaller, like for example DNA, you will see computers at the size of a DNA in your bloodstream working and trying to take away that bad cell which is there. It is science fiction. I'm sure it does sound like science fiction, but a lot of the current generation technology is science fiction for people who are 150 years in the past.
So friends, that's all from this week's episode of Tech with TG. अगर आपका कुछ भी कहना है, if you want to share any of your thoughts, you know the email address. It's again quite small, tg@ndtv.com. Drop in all your emails, all your queries, suggestions, या फिर in fact there's a challenge for you. अगर आपको लगता है कि there is a piece of tech जो साइज में बड़ा हुआ है and उसका साइज बढ़ने से कुछ हमको फायदा मिला है, लेट मी नो, ड्रॉप योर ईमेल्स और मैं आपसे मिलने वाला हूं नेक्स्ट एपिसोड में विद सम मोर फन, सम मोर टेक, थोड़ा सा और जानेंगे बिहाइंड द सीन्स जाते हुए किसी और इंटरेस्टिंग फील्ड के बारे में. बड़ा मजा आने वाला है. टिल देन एंजॉय योर टाइम, टेक केयर, सी यू सून.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है. तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर. लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है.
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं.
पैसाबाजार.com.
For every news from every part of the country, डाउनलोड कीजिए NDTV ऐप. सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ बिजनेस, पॉलिटिक्स, स्पोर्ट्स एंड एंटरटेनमेंट. देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा इन द थिएटर. Read all about Yudra on the NDTV app. So download now.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है. तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है.
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे.
पैसाबाजार.com. क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है.
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव इज बैक.
शुरू करते हैं NDTV का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव. NDTV युवा.
भारत एक युवा देश है. अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती.
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी. She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है.
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो.
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ. और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा.
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं तब, इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ को सर.
Yuva Youth for Change. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है. आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है.
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो.
ए आयो भाग जोर. पैसाबाजार.com.
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle for Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में. कैसे मारा?
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Welcome to watching NDTV. I'm Vedant Agarwal. Well, Israel claims the Hezbollah chief has been killed in the Beirut strikes. Israel, in fact, says the Hezbollah chief will no longer be able to terrorize the world. We'll get you all the latest on that, as it now seems a new front in the all-out war. First up, the headlines at this hour. Hezbollah's top leadership has been eliminated, is what Israel has claimed. Israel says Hezbollah chief has been killed in the Beirut strikes. Battle for Haryana. Congress promises an MSP guarantee and caste census in its Haryana manifesto. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister campaigns in Haryana's Hisar. He takes the jibe at the Hudas, says both father and son are vying for the Chief Minister's seat. As politics over the Prasad Rao peaks, well, the high-level probe team, the SIT, is now at the Tirupati temple amid the row. Another possible terror encounter in Jammu and Kashmir right in the midst of elections. 3 army jawans have been injured in the Kulgam gun battle. 2 terrorists have been gunned down as well. 3 incidents of firing have been reported in the national capital in just 24 hours. A big law and order challenge now once again in the limelight ahead of the assembly polls. Meanwhile, NDTV accesses a CCTV footage which shows gangsters firing at a showroom. Delhi police allege firings are linked to extortion bids. Hello and welcome to watching NDTV. And well, our lead story, the all-out offensive that Israel has now, in a sense, triggered with the killings of the Hezbollah chief. Well, the IDF, or the Israeli Defense Forces, has claimed that the Hezbollah chief has been killed in the Beirut strikes. In fact, not just that, what Israel has also said is that the top leadership of Hezbollah has been eliminated as well. A huge claim there, though of course there has been no response from Hezbollah yet. What Hezbollah has said though is that all communication with the Hezbollah chief has been lost since last night. They've still not confirmed his death, but this certainly is a very significant development given the fact that West Asia has been pushed to a precipice once again. This of course as a new front has been opened. In fact, Israel says that this is not the only tool or perhaps the last tool in their arsenal, and they're going to go after everyone who is against the interests of Israel. So, of course, a pretty dramatic development, many would say a turning point in the entire West Asia conflict. So, well, those Israeli strikes continue. In fact, what we're also being told that Israel has taken control of the airport tower in Beirut as well, and that's a significant development. Remember, in the latest series of strikes in Lebanon, more than 700 people are reportedly killed. So, of course, that includes innocent civilians as well, because ultimately that's really the essence of this entire war, given the fact that civilians are being killed, whether it's in countries like Lebanon or other West Asia countries. Of course, what's happening in Gaza is something that we're all aware of, given the fact that the Israeli offensive continues. In fact, the IDF has said that Hassan Nasrallah will no longer be able to terrorize the world. Now, remember, Hassan Nasrallah has huge influence as far as Lebanon is concerned, particularly amongst his Shiite supporters, which is why it's said that perhaps it's only Hassan Nasrallah who can broker peace or wage a war. That's the kind of influence influence or power that Hassan Nasrallah enjoys in Lebanon. But of course, it's not just about Lebanon, it's also about the larger West Asia conflict, given the fact that Iran has also, in a sense, backed Hezbollah and other such armed militias in the past as well. It has come as a big blow to Iran as well, though no reaction as of now as far as Iran is concerned or the Hezbollah. But certainly a turning point, as I said, an inflection point perhaps, as many would call it, in the entire West Asia crisis. Let me go across to my colleague Mohammad Ghazali for the latest. So Ghazali, this is not just about the Hezbollah chief, but also Israel's all-out offensive against Hezbollah, because now Israel is claiming that the entire top leadership has virtually been eliminated. Do we take this with a pinch of salt? Has there been any reaction from Hezbollah or Iran?
See, Vedant, there are two parts of this question which you're asking. One, whether we should go by the perception or the message which Israel is sending out that they have been able to finish off Hezbollah. Certainly not, but have they inflicted maximum damage to Hezbollah? Certainly yes. Hassan Nasrallah was a key influential face in Lebanon of Hezbollah and also a very close ally of Iran. Iran used to back on Hassan Nasrallah's decision. He was free to operate in Lebanon and nearby areas, even in Syria. So that's a big jolt to Iran and its entire regime, because just a couple of months ago we saw Israel taking out Mr. Ismail Haniyeh, the political chief of Hamas. So top two faces of this entire axis of resistance, which Iran calls it, is certainly a big damage. But has Israel been managed to wipe off Hamas from Gaza? No, it's been a year. Intense aerial bombardments, targeted attacks, assassinations have not led to Hamas from firing rockets towards Israel, and same goes with Hezbollah. For the last 1 week since the pager explosion, the walkie-talkie explosions, then yet the aerial and precise attacks by Israel may have done a maximum damage to Hezbollah by killing Hassan Nasrallah. But even today, as we speak, aerial attacks from Israel continues into Beirut, and even Hezbollah is managing to launch rockets into West Bank, which is around 100 kilometers away from Lebanese border. So certainly their entire arms and ammunition, as well as the whatever leadership is left in the region right now, is still taking decisions despite receiving a damage like the death of Mr. Hassan Nasrallah, as the IDF claims. And even the Iranian media close to Hezbollah has not issued any statement confirming the death of Hassan Nasrallah, but they continue to refute these reports. But sure, if we have to believe the Western media reports, Hassan Nasrallah is dead. That's a big deal. But what will happen next? Is Israel going to do what it did back in 1982 and 2006 with Lebanon, that it entered into the territory with a ground invasion and occupied the territory for many, many years? Will Israel do that, sensing the fact that Hezbollah is not the same Hezbollah which it was in the last 10 years, because it has, most of its commanders have been killed in those explosions and many under these aerial attacks.
Absolutely. Ghazali, thanks very much for joining us with that. So if indeed these reports were to be believed, a significant development, a major escalation with Israel claiming that the Hezbollah chief has been killed. But well, let's cut across live to where the Prime Minister is currently speaking. This as the battle for Haryana is only heating up, with polls drawing closer. Listen.
हमारे सभी उम्मीदवारों से मेरा आग्रह है, जरा आगे आ जाएं। आप सबके आशीर्वाद उनको मिले, ये प्रार्थना करने के लिए मैं आया हूं। मेरे साथ बोलिए, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
All right, so the Prime Minister there campaigning in Hisar. It's really been a carpet bomb campaign, both the BJP and the Congress. In fact, the BJP, of course, battling 10-year incumbency. For the Congress, it's a crucial election given the fact that the Congress has been out of power virtually since 2014. It seems to be an out-and-out Huda show, but of course some infighting there as well, with Kumari Shelja very openly campaigning against Hudas, or perhaps being very sort of vociferous in her pitch as the Chief Minister as well. So all of that interesting dynamics playing out. The Congress released its manifesto as well. In fact, the Prime Minister earlier hit out at the Hudas, and he said that both father and son are vying for the Chief Minister's seat. Listen.
कांग्रेस के नेता अब कहने लगे हैं कि हरियाणा में भी वही हाल होगा जो कांग्रेस का मध्य प्रदेश में हुआ था, क्योंकि कांग्रेस देश की सबसे धोखेबाज और बेईमान पार्टी है। आज हिमाचल में कर्मचारियों को उनकी सैलरी और डीए देने तक इनके पास बजट नहीं है। आप देख रहे हैं कि कैसे यहां कांग्रेस में मुख्यमंत्री बनने के लिए मारामारी मची है। बापू भी दावेदार है और बेटा भी दावेदार है।
All right, some breaking news coming in. 3 army jawans have been injured in a gun battle in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam. In fact, 2 terrorists have been gunned down as well. So this seems like a major terror encounter there in Kulgam, which really has been a hotbed of militancy, particularly in the past 6 to 7 months. Remember, this is not the first encounter in Kulgam. We have seen, particularly in the run-up to the polls, back-to-back terror encounters. Security, of course, continues to be a huge challenge, a huge concern as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. Remember, we are counting down to the final phase of the Jammu and Kashmir polls, which is to be held on the 1st of October. So that's going to be crucial as well. But 2 terrorists have been gunned down in this as well. What makes Kulgam an extremely difficult sort of challenge for the Jammu and Kashmir police and the security forces is, of course, its challenging terrain, given the fact that the topography here is extremely challenging, which is why we see these back-to-back gun battles and terror encounters. But militancy certainly is far from over as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, because we have seen back-to-back terror encounters in the past 4 to 5 months. Many, of course, have pointed out that the focus of militancy has shifted to Jammu, but in the valley as well, terror encounters continue to be reported, whether it's the Poonch-Rajouri belt. The Poonch-Rajouri belt has certainly become the epicenter of militancy. So back-to-back terror encounters being reported, and in this particular terror encounter, 2 terrorists have been gunned down and 3 army jawans have been injured, and 1 Jammu and Kashmir police official has also been injured in this encounter in Kulgam as well. So a terror crackdown there certainly, but also it was an intense gun battle, given the fact that 3 army jawans were injured. Let me go across to my colleague Nazir Masoodi, joining us on the phone line. In fact, so Nazir, it's important there that 2 terrorists have been gunned down. Seems like an intense gun battle. 3 army jawans have been injured. What's the latest do you have?
Well, this sounds a gun battle is over, but the operation is still on. They are searching the area because the house where they were hiding, they were holed up, was completely destroyed during this army's offensive, and the target house was destroyed, and the rubble of the house that was searched, and 2 bodies have been recovered. They appear to be local militants, and it was an operation which initially looked where security force suffered injuries. 4 security force personnel, including a senior officer, SP rank officer, were injured in the initial shootout. But then the security force launched a massive assault at the target house, and both the militants have been killed. There were reports of 2 to 3 militants were holed up in this house. But finally, so far, what we get from the security force that 2 militants have been killed, and a search operation is still underway.
All right, Nazir, thanks very much for joining us with the latest there. So search operations are still underway, but a major gun battle there in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam. With that, we'll step to a short break now, but news continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola RERA 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर।
लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग तोड़ भेल बनो।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle for Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com। क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
For every news from every part of the country, download कीजिए NDTV app. सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है in the world of business, politics, sports and entertainment. देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा in the theatre. Read all about Yudra on the NDTV app. So download now.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव is back.
शुरू करते हैं एनडीटीवी का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव। एनडीटीवी युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी। She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है।
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो।
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ। और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा?
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं, तब इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ को सर।
Yuva, youth for change. Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola RERA 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Welcome back. The latest on the Tirupati Prasad Rao. Well, the high-level probe team, the SIT, which is a 9-member team that has arrived at the Tirupati temple amid the entire political controversy. Remember, the Chandrababu Naidu-led government had formed this 9-member SIT. Now, remember, the Supreme Court is also set to hear this matter on September the 30th, given the fact that you've had a plea seeking an independent inquiry into this as well. This has certainly become not just a political issue, but also one that is extremely emotive and sensitive as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned. And well, let's cut across live to where Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi is currently speaking in Jammu. Listen.
इंतजार करें, हो सकता है 6 महीने में नौकरी मिल जाएगी, हो सकता है 2-3 महीनों में नौकरी मिल जाएगी, तो बेचारे इंतजार करते रहते हैं, सोचते हैं कहीं और लग जाएंगे तो ये भर्ती निकल जाएगी तो हम रह जाएंगे, और इस तरह करके साल पे साल गवा देते हैं, अपनी जवानी गवा देते हैं, बच्चों की शादी नहीं होती, जब रिश्ता लेके जाते हैं कहते हैं कि भाई नौकरी नहीं है, रिश्ते नहीं पक्के होते, तो इस तरह से कैसे आगे बढ़ेंगे हम? आपके एलजी बाहरी हैं, साफ तमाम जितनी भी पॉलिसियां, जितनी भी नीतियां बन रही हैं बाहर वालों के लिए बन रही हैं। 450 मिनरल के जो ब्लॉक हैं उनमें से 200 के ठेके बाहर के लोगों को दिए हैं। आपको रेत, आपकी रेत है, आपकी बजरी है, बाहर भेजी जा रही है, आपको खरीदनी पड़ती है अपने घर बनाने के लिए, तो उसका दाम महंगा होता है कि नहीं? आपको घर में छोटी सी छोटी मरम्मत करनी पड़ती है, आप घबराते हो कि कैसे करेंगे? कोई बीमार पड़ता है, घबराते हो, इलाज कैसे करवाएंगे? और यहाँ बाहर की सारी कंपनियां आकर सब कुछ लूट रही हैं। 10 मिनरल के ब्लॉक्स हैं, 26 रेत के खनन, सारे ठेके बाहर के इनके मित्रों को दिए गए हैं। बाहर की कंपनियों को ला कर आपके जितने भी छोटे कारोबार हैं उनको खत्म किया जा रहा है। ये तो मैं मंच पे खड़े होकर कह रही हूं, एहसास तो आपको है। अब त्योहार का महीना आने वाला है, एक तरफ घबराहट कि त्योहार के लिए हमें अपने घर को सजाना है, मेहमान आएंगे, खाना खिलाना है, सब कुछ करना है, कैसे करेंगे? महंगाई इतनी है। और दूसरी तरफ एहसास होता है कि पता नहीं इस साल बिक्री होगी कि नहीं, धनतेरस आएगा, दिवाली आएगी, लोग खरीदेंगे कि नहीं, क्या हमारे कारोबार चल पाएंगे कि नहीं, ये आपकी असली समस्याएं हैं। इन समस्याओं से जूझ रहे हो आप।
All right, the battle for Jammu and Kashmir heating up as we count down to the final phase of the polls. With that, we'll slip into a short break now, but news continues on the top of the hour.
Election sunrise is on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election that will go down in the history. Watch the most comprehensive, the most nuanced, and the most power-packed coverage only on NDTV.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle for Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of maximum city is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai. India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं, ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पर डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
पैसाबाजार.com।
For every news from every part of the country, download कीजिए NDTV ऐप। सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है in the world of business, politics, sports and entertainment. देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा in the theatre. Read all about Yudra on the NDTV app. So download now.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. बनेगा स्वस्थ इंडिया. One world hygiene.
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव is back.
शुरू करते हैं एनडीटीवी का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव. एनडीटीवी युवा.
भारत एक युवा देश है. अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती.
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी. She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय
to customers, but how does one balance cost effectiveness with what consumers want and what is really good for the earth? Starting with you, Mr. Bigchandani, you've worked so much with corporates, especially startups. Tell us, how is young India looking at something like sustainability? Is it just a responsibility for them, or are they looking at it as a strategy that needs to be aligned with how their own companies are looking at business?
So I think let's start with young people before we start with young companies. I think if you look at young people, people who are in their 20s today, or even younger, I think they are really committed to sustainability. And I know this from the young workforce that's joining the workplace today. They want to, if a company is seen as more responsible, it will tend to be a more attractive place for young people to work, and we are seeing that. We run Naukri. We ourselves employ 5,500 people. People want to work in a company where they feel that practices and thinking is more aligned to their personal values. And the younger generation is definitely bothered about being green and sustainable. That's young people. Now we come to the startups. I think you've got to distinguish between those that are in the sustainability business and those that are not in the sustainability business but want to do what they're doing in a more sustainable manner, right? So Zomato is not, where we invested with larger shareholders, is not in the sustainability business. It's in the food delivery business. It's in the quick commerce business. There's a very clear commitment that we have to do it in a more sustainable manner. Whether it is, right now 30 to 40% of Zomato delivery vehicles are EVs, they're e-bikes, right? That's a significant number. It's up from zero about 4 or 5 years ago. You look at the packaging that Zomato sends is always trying to figure out ways to, don't ask for cutlery if you don't want it, encouraging restaurant partners to use packaging that is more sustainable, right, when shipping the orders. So it's about doing, for very many startups, it's about doing business, the regular business, in a more sustainable manner. And, most are keen and game to do it. Then there are startups which are in the sustainability business. So we've invested in a carbon credit exchange. We've got a couple of battery tech companies. We've got a couple of companies that are financing EVs, e-rickshaws. They are in the business and they're actually benefiting from the economic opportunity, the commercial opportunities that the sector provides. And obviously they will do it in a more sustainable manner because it's their business. So it's happening. Can more happen? Answer is yes. But a lot more is happening than was happening about 3 or 4 years ago.
Right. Mr. Desai, but can businesses be sustainable and cost effective at the same time? Because when we talk about innovation, we're also talking about the challenge of funding. But we've also seen the example of ethanol, something like using stubble to create something as useful as ethanol. So do you see this happening very often in your sector?
There is always, the challenge for any developing countries to how much to reduce carbon emission. So by whether it will curtail your growth and the industry, development. So this is always a question. So, but of course, in our experience with ethanol, we have seen that, when you try to implement ethanol production facilities all over India to help the government to meet their E20 or ethanol 20 mandate, that is a blending of 20% ethanol in petrol. So basically, initially, we need a lot of capex and a lot of burden on the investors to really, install these plants, procure very high cost feedstock to convert those into ethanol. But eventually we have seen that, on the long run, It will create a lot of green jobs. It will also develop their own industry, which is always in the rural, economy. So basically, through ethanol or through any other renewable energy source, initial capex will be higher, but on the long run, once you recover the capex, so it will start paying you.
Okay.
So I don't see that, if you have a choice of building another petroleum refinery or an ethanol refinery, so I would always suggest you go with the ethanol refinery to meet out the additional demand. So I don't see that there is any challenge now. Initially there was a challenge, but now I don't think there is any challenge.
Right. Mr. Todi, how is corporate India actually looking at sustainability? Because I was reading some pieces where people are even resistant to having, say, a paperless office completely. So clearly there could be some resistance within the workforce, and also, client engagement becomes very important. How is corporate India even looking at sustainability as an important feature?
For corporate India, is sustainability a responsibility? Is it a competitive advantage, or is it beneficial to the business? I would say that it's all three. So it's responsibility of the corporates to do the right thing, given that they are responsible for a lot of, let's say, emissions and environmental impacts. But at the same time, investing in sustainability is both profitable financially, and there are significant non-financial benefits as well. As Sanjeev pointed out, that younger people, the right talent wants to work for the right companies. But at the same time, there's significant benefits both on the revenue uplift, but as well as cost optimization. And on the third side, it's also a competitive advantage. If you invest in the right technologies, and I'll give specific examples. For instance, we have been one of the early companies to invest in what we call net zero buildings. There's a real estate company in the Mahindra portfolio which is building net zero buildings, and there's a huge demand for this. In our Mahindra logistics business, we have been offering a suite of green logistics services. So as Sanjeev pointed out, Zomato is looking to deliver using green fleet. We provide that green fleet. And not just B2C companies, but across all B2B operations as well, people are looking for greener solutions. Now, it's a vast topic. So the way we look at Mahindra is that, given that we operate in so many different industries, we have put a strategy which says that how can you convert each of the company to becoming a planet positive company. First, look at your own operations, things that you have complete control on in terms of emissions, water, waste, material circularity, operational elements. The second is, how do you transition the nature of the business itself to becoming a green business? So EVs, green buildings, green holidays, green financing, all of these sectors have immense business opportunity. And the last element is, what actions can you take to get social justice and environmental justice going on together? So things like sustainable agriculture, tree plantation, involving community are some of the other big focus areas. So very well integrated, I would say.
Dr. Murkab, when we think about this traditionally polluting industry, when it comes to industry that is resource intensive, be it chemicals or textile, how are you building sustainability into your processes, and how are you able to convince people that you are doing this?
It is a difficult proposition for sure. There's no doubt about it. But जो आज बस देख रहे हैं about sustainability, somewhere or the other, I have always believed that this was always there. With all the stalwarts here. Sir, sustainability, to my thought, is about innovation, 1. 2, cutting down on power, steam. 3, consistency. 4, cost. 5th, involvement of your labor so that they know what they are doing, what they are talking about. 6th, the most important, what you rightly said, the young generation today. This young generation of today is a powerhouse. And the way they are taking up things in the right manner, the country is looking forward for a great future for sure. वो दिन दूर नहीं है जब मेरे वतन को सोने की चिड़िया बुलाया जाता था, वो फिर सोने की चिड़िया कहलाएगा. That's all I can talk about it.
Mr. Bigchandani, what would your advice be to companies when it comes to balancing financial objectives with, when I was talking to some people preparing for this panel, and they said ethical supply chain is a big thing, and if you have to make a product up to customer satisfaction, there could be some compromise on sustainability. How would you advise companies to sort of balance that out?
So I think there are various situations. There are situations where it makes clear financial sense to go for the greener option. There may be some capex, But on OPEX, ultimately, you win out, and over a 5, 7, 10-year period, you're way ahead. So there, I think it's by and large a no-brainer. You are going green, you're going sustainable, and it's making financial sense, right? Then you come to a situation where there's regulation, where the government is mandated. That may make more financial sense, but you better do this, right? There also, the more compliant companies will do it, okay? Now you come to a situation where there's no regulatory mandate, and it doesn't make financial sense. Those are the areas where if the market doesn't reward you, the customer doesn't reward you, the customer doesn't prefer you because you're greener, there will be a challenge. Because if you go for the greener option, but you end up with a higher cost structure or perhaps higher prices, and your competition does not, you will have a challenge. And there, I think there may be some compromises, but we have to wait and watch and see what happens. But I think, Ankit, you may have an informed view on this.
Ankit, would you like to, and especially you are also in the field of renewable energy, and do you think there is scope for innovation there? And like he says, do you think there needs to be more collaborations there?
No. So let me just add one point to what Sanjeev said. So definitely 3 parts, things that make financial and environmental sense. Renewable energy is an example. Those will scale, throughout the country. Every private sector, public sector will adopt it. Things where you could say it's financially neutral or financially negative, but driven by regulation. Again, lots of examples. The government is very serious. In the last 3 years, there have been extended life responsibility regulations for plastics, for batteries, for tires, for end-of-life vehicles. Increasingly, more and more sectors are being covered by regulation. And the moment there's regulation, automatically there's a financial sense that comes into it. Someone has to recycle, someone has to comply. That's that category. The third category, areas which are required from an environmental perspective, but the environment is not supportive enough. I think it's a matter of time, because increasingly the amount of change that you'll see, India is considered one of the most vulnerable countries. As a result, the kind of implications that you'll see from climate change will mean that one by one, each sector will start making financial sense, either driven by innovation, technology, or driven by regulation. To answer the second part of the question, I think renewables, we are sort of so renewables have been in India for a really long time, but we are at that stage where we are really accelerating on renewables. The government, with the policies as part of the net zero goal for 2070, has a 500 gigawatt target. What that would mean is about 40-45% of the country's total power will come from renewable energy. There's opportunity to make that even higher, 70-75%. So I think when it comes to renewables, it's all about how quickly can you deploy more and more renewable energy, because it makes financial sense, like strong financial sense, both at the grid level for the country, for a private sector company. So at Mahindra, we recently announced a 1,200 crore project for solar wind hybrid. Similarly, even at a smaller scale for MSMEs, it makes a lot of sense. That's the renewable side of the story. But on energy transition, the energy efficiency is also an extremely important part. That while you shift your energy requirement to green energy, how can you also make sure that you produce things more efficiently? That's another part of the equation that's really important, and that the industry is focusing on.
So do you want to add a point?
Yeah, there's one other aspect. It's the role of investors. Okay, we are a listed company. Now, until 5 years ago, I had never ever heard the term ESG or even bothered about it. For the first time, I think it was investors, and these were international investors. We are listed, right? We've got institutional investors from overseas. We've got a report saying your ESG score is not as good as it could be. And I say, yeah, what is ESG? So the guy showed me, and he showed me a report. And somebody had rated us. Okay. And that's why I came back, and it became an agenda. We've got to be good at this.
Right.
It is now entering the paradigm, the way investors, the better investors, evaluate companies and therefore reward it by buying or not buying its shares.
Right.
And therefore, so once that happens, at least the more formal corporate sector, the listed companies, will tend to get nudged from many directions, whether it's employees, younger employees, whether it's investors, whether it's customers, whether it's government, to actually, go for greener solutions.
हेलो, आप लकी ड्रॉ में सिलेक्ट हुए हैं। बैंक डिटेल्स दीजिए। पार्सल ट्रैक करना है, लिंक पे क्लिक कीजिए। स्पैम हम सबका प्रॉब्लम है ना, पर जिस वक्त वो कॉल या एसएमएस आए और कुछ गलत हो जाए, उस वक्त हम अकेले हैं, नहीं?
नहीं, आज से एयरटेल आपके साथ है। एआई के पावर से हम लाखों स्पैमर्स को ब्लॉक कर रहे हैं और स्पैम कॉल्स या एसएमएस आने पर अपने हर कस्टमर को अलर्ट कर रहे हैं, बिना किसी ऐप, बिना कोई चार्ज। वेरी कूल, क्योंकि स्पैम और स्कैम से लड़ने की जिम्मेदारी हमारी भी है।
From the heart of every community to the corners of our great nation.
Health and hygiene are the foundations of our future.
For 10 years, Banega Swasth India has been your partner in building a more healthier, stronger and resilient India.
मिलकर हमने जागरूकता फैलाई, जिंदगियां बदली और लाखों लोगों को प्रेरित किया।
और अब दूसरे दशक में हम अपनी प्रतिबद्धता को और मजबूत कर रहे हैं।
This season we focus on the power of prevention.
सफाई की ताकत और देखभाल का महत्व अपने लिए और अपने परिवार के लिए और हमारे समाज के लिए।
Because a healthy India begins with each one of us.
Join us as we continue this incredible journey with your participation.
Banega Swasth India Season 11, together for a happier and healthier India.
2 अक्टूबर को NDTV नेटवर्क पर।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
From the heart of every community to the corners of our great nation.
Health and hygiene are the foundations of our future.
For 10 years, Banega Swasth India has been your partner in building a more healthier, stronger and resilient India.
मिलकर हमने जागरूकता फैलाई, जिंदगियां बदली और लाखों लोगों को प्रेरित किया।
और अब दूसरे दशक में हम अपनी प्रतिबद्धता को और मजबूत कर रहे हैं।
This season we focus on the power of prevention.
सफाई की ताकत और देखभाल का महत्व अपने लिए और अपने परिवार के लिए और हमारे समाज के लिए।
Because a healthy India begins with each one of us.
Join us as we continue this incredible journey with your participation.
Banega Swasth India Season 11, together for a happier and healthier India.
2 अक्टूबर को NDTV नेटवर्क पर।
Mr. Desai, would you like to also answer something on this role of corporate India in innovation? Because Ankit also spoke about this, and innovation seems to be very important in the field of sustainability. How has the role of corporate India in supporting innovations in the field of sustainability evolved in the last few years?
Yeah, first of all, innovation is the need of the hour for promoting any renewable energy. Of course, it requires a lot of investment in terms of research, development, pilot plant, pilot studies, and study in terms of feedstock, because except solar and wind, all other renewable energy sources like ethanol, biodiesel, SAF, the sustainable aviation fuel, then compressed biogas, all these require a lot of feedstock. So research on feedstock and how to precondition the feedstock, make it suitable for producing efficiently the energy. So all these areas we need a lot of investment in terms of R&D, pilot plants. So definitely in India at least, I have seen that many companies, organizations, they are investing heavily in the research and they are acquiring talent for doing the research work. So then they are coming out with innovative solutions for the industry. So this is definitely going to help. And also from the government side, they are also coming out and giving a lot of capex, incentives for R&Ds, even the pilot plants. So there are so many announcements made in the past for all these renewable energy R&D work. Yeah.
Dr. Amirka, what is the role of the government, or for that matter even NGOs, because we're talking about sustainability from a very holistic point of view, so even local communities have to be involved. Does the government here play a very important role, because the government here has a stated objective of net zero emissions? What kind of role do you see even local communities playing in this?
Well, to be honest with you, government definitely has to play a major role, For example, let's go back to the ancient days. India was, since I hail from a textile background, what I can really cite an example is about fabric, for example. There were times when India was the largest producer of fabric. People used to come and trade with India, buy fabric from here and give whatever we wanted. Those days are gone. Textile is diminishing. The fact is, we are talking all about emission, this and that. Even textile for say, when we talk about natural dyes today whatever are being used in fabric, आप और मैं जो भी colored कपड़े पहन रहे हैं, these are all with dyes, and they are not at all good as far as eco-friendly awareness is concerned. Eco dyes, what can be manufactured is either from the trees or from the flowers. But again, it's a threat, because if we really take it up in a bigger scale, हम environment को नुकसान पहुंचा रहे हैं. One side we are talking about plantation of trees, the other side we are talking about cutting them. Let's be also very honest. The construction of roads these days, overbridges coming up, it's a necessity. But amount of loss as far as the green environment is concerned is again a bigger threat.
Right.
What are we really doing for that? Talking about the universities we talked about some time back, like for example the textile in particular, there's a university in Bombay called UDCT, now ICT. There's only one of its kind. If we have certain more institutes like this for taking these thoughts forward, it can be a great significance.
My last question to you, Ankit. I was looking up into the internet and I see a lot of certifications. How does a company sort of, become sustainable? What is the framework, and what is the importance of transparency in showing that you're very sustainable?
So when I joined the Mahindra Group, the first question that I was supposed to work on is that what makes a corporate a sustainability leader? And unlike financial metrics, there's no easy answer. No certification can tell you that you're a sustainability leader. And that's where this entire idea came, that there is one definition of sustainability, which is about ESG, looking at environment, social governance dimensions. Hundreds of questions go into that. You have to look at nitty-gritties of everything that a company does. That's one way to look at it. The second way to look at it is how do you transform the nature of your business? Right. So that's the most action on ground. Both in your operational areas, but as Sir was pointing out, that how do you change the nature of the company and the way you get revenue? So auto sector going to EVs, logistics sector doing green logistics, renewables as an example. So all of that revenue, business revenue, is the second area. The third area is at the intersection that are you really adding value to the planet and society? So there are multiple ways to look at it, but there's no clear one answer that there's a certification that can certify a company is green or sustainable.
Coming to that, I'll take a minute. Certifications today has become a mandatory affair. Why can't the government intervene in getting into just one certificate, for example? See for textiles also at large. There are so many certificates involved. I believe that's just a money-making business, nothing else. If the government can intervene, get into just one certificate, it can make a bigger impact.
So last word from you, is it really difficult becoming a sustainable company?
Not really. You just have to be conscious and thoughtful. And if you're there, if you do that, you're 80% there. Okay. So be conscious and thoughtful. When you get into a new office, what's it going to be like? When you do the interiors, what's it going to be like? When you look at your sources of power or energy, what are they going to be like? A little bit of thoughtfulness and you're 80% there. Okay.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me. A genuine commitment towards shifting to more sustainable environment goals seems to be the right way forward, but of course a robust policy framework and innovation is equally important, and so is, I believe, engagement with local communities. That seems to be really important for sustainability. Thank you very much for joining me.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live. listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle of Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital, Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
पैसाबाजार.com।
For every news from every part of the country, download कीजिए NDTV ऐप। सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है in the world of business, politics, sports and entertainment. देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा in the theatre. Read all about Yudra on the NDTV app. So download now.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
NDTV's युवा कॉन्क्लेव is back.
शुरू करते हैं NDTV का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव, NDTV युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
सो माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी.
हाँ.
शी सेड कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है.
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो.
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया कि 4639 है तो मैं काफ़ी खुश हुआ. और
सरप्राइज भी हुए थे थोड़ा?
सरप्राइज हुआ था मैं, तब इसीलिए वो मैंने पूछा सर खाओ माँ कसम.
Yuva, Youth for Change.
Election sun rises on the proverbial paradise. Jammu and Kashmir gets set to vote in assembly elections after a gap of 10 years.
For the BJP, it's a referendum on Article 370. For the Congress and regional parties, it's a battle for survival. An election.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching NDTV. I am Vedanta Agarwal. Coming up on the show, well, the Supreme Court's tough words for RERA, which is, of course, a real estate law. The Supreme Court saying this law has virtually become ineffective for home buyers. What really are home buyers' grievances? We'll get you all of the latest on that, but first up, the headlines. Hezbollah's top leadership eliminated, claims Israel. Israel says Hezbollah chief has been killed in the Beirut strikes. The battle for Haryana. The Congress party vows MSP and caste census in its manifesto for Haryana. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister campaigns in Haryana's Hisar. He takes a jibe at the Hudas, says both father and son are vying for the Chief Minister's seat. Amid the political row over the Tirupati laddus, the high-level SIT probe team has now reached the Tirupati temple amid the controversy. 3 army jawans have been injured in the Kulgam gun battle in Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, 2 terrorists have been gunned down as well. 3 incidents of firing have been reported in Delhi in just 24 hours. A huge law and order challenge. This as NDTV accesses the CCTV footage as well, in which gangsters can actually be seen firing at the showroom in the heart of the national capital. And our special focus on the show this evening, the Supreme Court's rebuke for RERA, which of course is an authority that takes into consideration the grievances of home buyers, and its primary purpose is in a sense to make sure that investment is channelized into real estate and that home buyers don't have to bear the brunt of what has now been called a nexus between authorities, builders and contractors, something that has really become extremely painful for home buyers, particularly in real estate hubs of our country, including the NCR and of course also cities like Bengaluru, Mumbai as well. Now remember, what the Supreme Court said was that RERA has become almost as if it's a rehabilitation center for retired bureaucrats. Of course, pretty strong words there by the Supreme Court as far as RERA is concerned. This as a home buyers issue has really come out as one of the most prominent ones when it comes to so-called real estate paradises like Noida and other such metropolitan cities. What does this really mean, and what do home buyers really have to face? Well, joining me on the show, Ali Mohammed, an advocate in High Court. He's based in Bengaluru. Also, Pankaj Rai, a resident at the Ajnara homes in Greater Noida. He is also fighting a huge dispute as far as flat registry is concerned. Again, a huge pain point for home buyers. Going across to you first, Mr. Pankaj Rai. From a home buyer's perspective, the RERA was formed with the aim of making sure that home buyers do not have to bear the brunt of this alleged nexus between government and builders and contractors. But the Supreme Court says that the entire RERA law has been virtually rendered ineffective. What has been your experiences with RERA? And I'm sure you've dealt with a lot of home buyers as well, and they continue to say that despite their registry, their flats have not been allotted. In many cases, they've been duped and deceived as well, with no hope for what is their right.
See, Honorable Supreme Court is commenting on RERA. It's truth. we are facing here problem since long back. We are running RERA office, GNID, Greater Noida Authority office, but nobody is taking any action or nobody is taking, they are not doing anything, to be very honest. See, RERA is reform for customer problems in between builder and customer. They have duty in see the RERA sides, the transparency, accountability, dispute resolution. But these all things are only on paper. I am living Aznara Homes and here in N Tower and specific N or O Tower, two towers are, RERA number is same, one RERA number and two tower is there in a row. I have paid registry builder money when I have bought this stamp duty papers, but still we are seeing on registry. OCCC is still not completed. It's taken by builder. Sure. Even in fact, firefighting is not completed. So you can assume we are living in a high risk zone. So some of my friends, they have paid the money, but they not get the flats through builder. They are running RERA. They meet the officers, but they are not doing anything. You can see in our society in basement, huge garbage is there. Water logging, garbage.
So those are all very important points you're making, because it's also about the maintenance of our high rises, given the fact that, every day almost we see new high rises coming up in cities like Noida and Gurgaon, etc. And this is not just a problem that is limited to the NCR, but also other metropolitan cities. But that maintenance issue you talked about is very important, particularly given the fact that we keep seeing so many lift mishaps as well. And that also comes under the purview of, the builder, and the builder is nowhere to be found after the flats are allotted. But Advocate Ali Mohammed, I'm sure you have also dealt with so many such cases, and the main objective of RERA is the resolution of disputes between, say, an allottee and builders, etc., home buyers and builders. But the plight of the home buyers continues despite any, despite RERA and despite having such a dispute resolution mechanism in place. Why do you think that is? Where does RERA lack in terms of bringing builders and home buyers on the same page across the table?
RERA was introduced to bring accountability and transparency amongst the builders and the home buyers. So what usually happened before 2016 was builders used to take money and they used to take their own sweet time for developing the projects.
Yes.
So once the act was brought in, it was controlled for a year or two. But after that, what happened was the buyers approached the court. They approached the consumer courts. They approached the IBCs. They just approached the court for resolutions. So in that time, what happened? The builders got used to the orders which were happening against them, and they started taking that in a lighter way, because what happens is approaching a court is somewhat a time-consuming task. So in that process, the winner is the one who has a lot of patience, who sits with patience. So rightly, the petitioners in Noida, because I was seeing news wherein the buyers, they bought flats in 2012-13, now it's 12 years. So, and they have no other way in getting their flats back, because what buyers do is they spend a whole lot of money in registrations, in bank EMIs. Bank EMIs, usually whenever you take an EMI, it goes for 20 years, and the grievances, as rightly said by the person appearing on the other side, it becomes a problem for them also, and it is not properly regulated. Sure. Because they have given the buyers take things in a very casual way. So what the court can do is they can seek amendments, they can bring some changes in the laws.
And so perhaps fix accountability. I think that's an important point you made, that accountability needs to be fixed in cases like this. But Mr. Pankaj Rai, quickly the last word to you. While we talk about home buyers in general and RERA, etc., This is also an extremely personal story for each home buyer, given the fact that you save up money for years on end and then you buy a flat, you buy an apartment. Very often there are various unfair practices, illegal practices also. So many home buyers are deceived, lakhs of rupees go down the drain. Talk to us about how difficult it is for a home buyer in today's time, particularly in real estate hubs of India, to in a sense navigate this entire space.
See, we as a home buyer, government had made some regulatory like RERA and GNID, Greater Noida Authority, and so many things are there. So where we can approach, and if we can approach, they can do the proper action on builder. Because we are paying maintenance also here in my society, approx 80 to 90 lakh monthly we are paying, but not 10% is that builder is doing in maintenance. Even 10%. We are facing a lift problem. So many problems are there. We are approaching again and again to these authorities. Jo government has made these authorities to for home buyers, but they are not listen. They are not bothered about that.
Absolutely. I think that's an important point you made, that from buying an apartment to, of course, its maintenance, this authority, this organization has virtually been rendered ineffective, as the Supreme Court has said, because there is no intervention at all at any level, which is why home buyers continue to suffer. But thanks very much, gentlemen, for being with us on the show this evening. This is the Supreme Court has made some very important observations in this case. Moving now to news from Jammu and Kashmir as we count down to the final phase of polling in the Union Territory. There has been an encounter that has been reported in the Kulgam district of Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, 3 army jawans have been injured. A Jammu and Kashmir police official has also been injured and 2 terrorists have been gunned down. Let me go straight across to our senior colleague Nazir Masoodi joining us live. So Nazir, what more details do you have? Are search operations still underway? 2 terrorists have been gunned down. This is, as we have discussed multiple times in the past, extremely challenging terrain and topography, and militancy certainly has been on the rise in these areas particularly.
Well, today's encounter was not in any mountainous area. It was in a normal, like a village, as you can see in the visuals, a residential house where they had taken shelter on that has been completely destroyed. And during the operation, 2 militants have been killed. But before that, 4 security force personnel, 1 senior police officer and SP rank officer was injured. 3 army soldiers were also injured. According to police, all the injured have received minor injuries and they are stable. And the militants who were there, they had launched the operation based on the specific information about presence of 2 to 3 militants. Bodies of 2 militants have been recovered. They are believed to be local militants who had joined militancy like a few years back and were operating in this particular area, Adigam, in Devsar area of Kulgam district. While the elections are on, but this is an area where elections are already done.
Yes.
This is part of the, this was in the first phase of assembly election happened in this area. And so it's done. It has nothing to do with the election, but clearly it is part of an ongoing anti-militancy operation which is being launched by the security force across Jammu and Kashmir. So 2 militants have been killed, but before that 4 security force personnel, including an officer, were injured in the initial shootout.
All right, Nazir, thanks very much for joining us with the latest there. So, major terror crackdown in Jammu and Kashmir's Kulgam. Moving now to poll-bound Haryana, well, the BJP's carpet bomb campaign continues. This as both the BJP and the Congress are pulling out all their stops for the high-stakes battle. The Prime Minister campaigned in Haryana's Hisar and he took a jibe at the Hoodas. He said both father and son are vying for the Chief Minister's seat. In fact, he also said that the Congress has done more harm than good to the backward castes and the poor. Take a look.
Congress के नेता अब कहने लगे हैं कि हरियाणा में भी वही हाल होगा जो कांग्रेस का मध्य प्रदेश में हुआ था, क्योंकि कांग्रेस देश की सबसे धोखेबाज और बेईमान पार्टी है। आज हिमाचल में कर्मचारियों को उनकी सैलरी और डीए देने तक इनके पास बजट नहीं है। आप देख रहे हैं कि कैसे यहां कांग्रेस में मुख्यमंत्री बनने के लिए मारामारी मची है। बापू भी दावेदार है और बेटा भी दावेदार है।
And among the most keenly contested constituencies is Ambala. Certainly, traditionally, it has been a BJP stronghold, but this time it's a tight contest between the Congress and the BJP. The BJP has fielded a heavyweight, Anil Vij, a former minister. In fact, he was a former Home Minister of Haryana as well, and certainly one of the star campaigners of the BJP. In fact, my colleague Gurpreet caught up with him. Listen to what he had to say.
सबसे पहले मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहूँगा, आपने वर्चुअली आपका वर्चस्व पिछले कहें तो 6 चुनाव में आपका यहाँ पर रहा है। पिछले चुनावों में और अब के चुनाव में क्या फ़र्क देख रहे हैं आप?
6 चुनाव में जीता हूँ, 7 में लड़ रहा हूँ। इस बार जितना जनता का समर्थन मिल रहा है, पहली बार है कि वोट बोल रही है। पहले हम जाते थे ना तो सुन के नमस्ते करते थे, अब हम जा रहे हैं तो बोल के बता रहे हैं। ये पहली बार हो रहा है।
आप हरियाणा सरकार में जब थे और उसके बाद भारतीय जनता पार्टी के सबसे बेबाक चेहरों में से जाने जाते हैं, सीधी बात के लिए जाने जाते हैं। मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि इस बार आपका मेन कंपटीशन आप अपनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में किससे देख रहे हैं? कांग्रेस के एक कैंडिडेट हैं, एक इंडिपेंडेंट कैंडिडेट है, कांग्रेस की रेबल उनको कहा जा सकता है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी से टिकट चाह रही थी, नहीं मिला चित्रा सरवारा को, अब वो रेबल के तौर पर लड़ रहे हैं। तो क्या ट्रायंगुलर कॉन्टेस्ट है, डायरेक्ट कॉन्टेस्ट, आप किसको अपनी कंपटीशन में देख रहे हैं?
नहीं, कोई भी कॉन्टेस्ट में नहीं है। ये जो कांग्रेस के 2 उम्मीदवार खड़े हैं, असली नकली कांग्रेस के, ये तो एक दूसरे को आपस में लड़ रहे हैं, एक दूसरे को नकली और खुद को असली बताने की लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं। तो मेरा रास्ता तो साफ है। जनता जो है, ये जो चुनाव हो रहा है, ये चुनाव 2 विचारधाराओं के बीच में हो रहा है। काम करके वोट मांगने वाली विचारधारा और सच्चे झूठे वादे करके वोट मांगने वाली विचारधारा। अब इन पार्टियों का, कांग्रेस का देश में, हरियाणा में आप जानते हो कितना लंबा राज रहा है। इन्होंने तो विकास का एक भी काम नहीं किया। दूसरी तरफ मैंने विकास की पूरी यहाँ पर किया है और मैं अपने पर्चे विकास के लिख के बांट भी रहा हूँ। किसी रिपोर्ट कार्ड मैंने जनता के सामने पेश किया कि ये मैंने किया है। तो लोगों ने इन दोनों विचारधाराओं में से एक को चुनना कि काम करने वाले लोग चाहिए या गुब्बारे बेचने वाले चाहिए।
10 साल किसी के लिए भी, किसी की सरकार रहती है तो उसके लिए एक बड़ा चैलेंज हो जाता है। एंटी इनकम्बेंसी एक बड़ा फैक्टर हो जाता है। बहुत सारी चीज़ें की जाती हैं लेकिन बहुत सारी चीज़ें ऐसी होती हैं जो रह जाती हैं और जनता फिर उसको तय करती है। आपको लगता है कि एंटी इनकम्बेंसी एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर होगा? और मैं ये इसलिए भी पूछ रहा हूँ क्योंकि लोकसभा के चुनाव भी हाल ही में हुए। पिछली बार जब आप 2019 का चुनाव लड़े थे, 10 की 10 सीटों पर बीजेपी जीती थी। इस बार 5-5 का आंकड़ा सामने आया है। तो आपको लगता है कि इस बार एंटी इनकम्बेंसी एक बड़ा रोल प्ले करेगी?
देखिए, एंटी इनकम्बेंसी कांग्रेस की ज़्यादा है। कांग्रेस ने जो पिछला 10 साल यहाँ पे राज किया, भूपेंद्र सिंह हुड्डा चीफ मिनिस्टर थे, जिस प्रकार की प्रदेश में लूट चली, जिस प्रकार से नौकरियों को बेचा गया, और इस बार भी कांग्रेस के कई उम्मीदवार जो एक्स-MLA भी हैं और चुनाव लड़ रहे हैं, वो मंचों से कह रहे हैं कि हाँ हम नौकरियाँ बांटेंगे। तो और तबादलों की जिस प्रकार से मंडियाँ सजी, और सबसे बड़ी बात है लैंड एक्विजिशन एक्ट की धारा 4 और 6 का दुरुपयोग करके जो भोले भाले किसानों की ज़मीनों को लूटा गया, बिल्डर माफिया को दिया गया। भूपेंद्र हुड्डा के ऊपर कई क्रिमिनल केस चल रहे हैं इस मामले में।
Meanwhile, the Congress is eyeing a comeback in Haryana. Of course, they're hoping to cash in on the 10-year incumbency against the BJP. In fact, taking on Anil Vij is Congress heavyweight Chitra Sarwara. Listen to what she had to say.
क्या ऐसा हुआ कि चित्रा को कांग्रेस पार्टी छोड़ के इंडिपेंडेंट चुनाव लड़ना पड़ा?
देखिए, आई थिंक द बेसिक प्राइमरी रीज़न वाज कि टिकट नहीं मिली पार्टी से, तो इसलिए कांग्रेस से चुनाव नहीं लड़ सके। बट 5 साल इलाके में रहे थे, मेहनत करी थी, गृह मंत्री जी को उनके टोज़ पे रखा था, और हम समझते हैं कि इसीलिए एक जिम्मेवारी भी थी। लास्ट टाइम भी मैं उनके खिलाफ इंडिपेंडेंट लड़ी, 45,000 के करीब लोगों ने हमें वोट दिया था मुझे, और जो कोई थर्ड थे वो डिस्टेंट थर्ड थे एट 8,000। तो एक एहसास रहा था कि भाई दी सो मेनी पीपल, वो ये इतने सारे लोग अनिल विज जी के साथ सहमत नहीं हैं, उनके साथ 75 पार से कन्विंस्ड नहीं हैं, और बहुत ज़्यादा उनके इम्पेंडिंग जो 19 में था मंत्रालय से इम्प्रेस्ड नहीं है, तो उनकी आवाज़ कहीं बैठनी नहीं चाहिए। तो 5 इयर्स हमने बहुत काम किया, कोरोना आया, फ्लड आया, किसान आंदोलन आया, एनीथिंग एंड एवरीथिंग टू डू विद अम्बाला वी स्ट्रगल्ड फॉर। और हमें ये लगता है कि सवाल सिर्फ पूछने के लिए नहीं होने चाहिए, एट सम पॉइंट उनका एक निष्कर्ष होना चाहिए, कोई निवारण भी होना चाहिए। तो एक नेचुरल सा एक हमारे में ड्राइव था कि वी हैव टू सॉल्व दीज ऑल्सो। एक पार्टी का टिकट होता तो पार्टी से चुनाव लड़ते, लेकिन मैं समझती हूँ आज मैदान वही है, लक्ष्य वही है, टीम्स वही हैं, सिर्फ जर्सी बदली है। तो वी आर स्टिल ऑन द फील्ड एंड पीपल विल डिसाइड।
बट आपकी उस टीम ने तो बोला कि 6 साल के लिए अब आप टीम से बिल्कुल बाहर रही है। हाउ डू यू रिएक्ट टू द सस्पेंशन?
देखिए, सस्पेंशन इज़ वन, ये एक ड्यू प्रोसीजर था, हमने जो करा है वो भी शायद ड्यू प्रोसीजर।
रेबल्स
रेबल्स विदाउट अ पॉज आई थिंक currently, and पार्टी को ये कदम लेना पड़ा, बट लेट्स सी, आई एम मोर आंसरेबल टू माई कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी। मैं जिन लोगों ने, मैं कहूँगी धूप छाँव में, देखिए अनिल विज जी ने एक छत्र राज किया है 15 साल, दिस इज़ हिज 6th टर्म, ऑलमोस्ट 30 years इज़ ऑलरेडी बीन हियर। जिन लोगों ने 15 साल उनके खिलाफ जनता की, विपक्ष की और एक विकल्प की आवाज़ बन के अपने आप को जिंदा रखा, आई कांट लेट देम डाउन। आज मैं नहीं कह सकती कि मैंने 15 साल में मैंने किया, मैंने कोई भी कदम नहीं उठाया जहाँ पे मेरे साथ आई थिंक 100 साथी नहीं थे, हमारे बड़े बुजुर्ग युवा नहीं थे। सो आई थिंक हम उनमें से किसी को भी नहीं छोड़ सकते थे, इलाके को नहीं छोड़ सकते थे, और आज भी हम समझते हैं कि हम विकल्प भी हैं और एक कुछ बेहतर भी कर सकते हैं। तो वो जिम्मेवारी लोगों के बीच में रहे, निभाइए, उन्हीं से मांगेंगे आगे।
Is this election also about, like you said, somebody who has been a part of this constituency or has represented this constituency for a long time? एक young and old reflection भी दिखाई पड़ रहा है. You are a young person, Mr. Vij has been here for a very long time. तो क्या एक वो भी एक अपील है? क्योंकि मैं सुन रहा हूँ हमारे पीछे से सीटी बड़ी सारी बजती आ रही हैं.
हाँ, सीटियाँ तो पूरे अम्बाला में बज रही हैं. अब तो कहते हैं कुकर की भी सीटी बजती है तो वो चौंक जाते हैं. See, I think change is inevitable. It's a part of nature. It's good, and it just so happens कि आज एक एज भी उसमें फैक्टर है, बट एज इज़ नॉट द ओनली ड्राइविंग फैक्टर. आज एक चेंज चाहिए इन द जनरल एटमोसफियर ऑफ अम्बाला. अम्बाला एक 30 साल बाद उनके एक भययुक्त अम्बाला बन गया है. पीपल आर स्कैर्ड, और जो डायरेक्शन चलती है एक मोनोपोली, एक तरह का मैं कहूँगी मोनार्की चली है यहाँ पे. उनका जो फैसला रहा वही कर दिया. लोगों ने अपने आप को अपाहिज, असहाय, और कई बार उन्हें ऐसा भी लगा हमारी आवाज़ ही नहीं है.
So, well, an interesting battle for Ambala. Ambala has always been an extremely keenly contested constituency. But moving now to an absolutely shocking story from the national capital. In Delhi's Rangpuri area, 5 people from the same family were found dead inside their home. In fact, what the police have said that as per preliminary reports, it seems to be a case of suicide. It was a father and his 4 daughters who were found dead inside the home. In fact, Selphos, which is a poisonous substance, was also found along with glasses and spoons. So it does appear to be a case of suicide. Remember, what the police have also said is that the mother of the daughters had cancer, and she died several years ago as well. But listen in to what the neighbors of this particular family had to say.
कुछ 6-8 महीने पहले की बात है. उनका मिसेस जो था वो भी बीमार था, हॉस्पिटल में उनकी डेथ हो गया. उसके बाद से इनकी फैमिली जो है किसी से बातचीत नहीं करता था, कभी नहीं बात करी है. जैसे मैं सामने यहाँ खड़ा हूँ, मैं पड़ोसी वहाँ से गुजर कर, कोई बातचीत कभी हुआ ही नहीं, कभी नाम पता भी नहीं पूछे. उनको देख के लगता था कि उनको देखने लगता था हाँ, मानसिक रूप से बहुत ज़्यादा परेशान थे.
Absolutely shocking there. We'll take a short break now, but news continues on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola RERA 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
And finally, tributes pour in from around the world for India's Nightingale Lata Mangeshkar on her birth anniversary.
And I swipe it there, पाऊँ rewards, मैं everywhere, कहीं से भी करूँ collect, spend करूँ direct.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक करें फ्री में पैसाबाजार.com पर। लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
ठीक से एक्टिंग नहीं।
पैसाबाजार.com।
Hi, I'm Kareena Kapoor Khan. When it comes to news, NDTV stands for trust, for integrity, for truth, for news that matters. Watch NDTV and don't forget to watch The Battle of the Murders अपने नजदीकी सिनेमा घरों में। कैसे मारा?
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाए।
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पे डिपेंड करता है। तो आज ही पैसाबाजार.com पर जाइए और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत कभी भी किसी को भी पड़ सकती है।
बस एक्टिंग करा लो इनसे।
पैसाबाजार.com, क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक, आदत अच्छी है।
For every news from every part of the country, डाउनलोड कीजिए NDTV ऐप। सिर्फ एक ऐप जो आपको बताता है क्या हो रहा है इन द वर्ल्ड ऑफ बिजनेस, पॉलिटिक्स, स्पोर्ट्स एंड एंटरटेनमेंट। देखना ना भूलें हमारी मूवी युद्रा इन द थिएटर। रीड ऑल अबाउट युद्रा ऑन द NDTV ऐप। सो डाउनलोड नाउ।
लोन मिलेगा या नहीं ये आपके क्रेडिट स्कोर पर डिपेंड करता है। आज ही जाइए पैसाबाजार.com पर और अपना क्रेडिट स्कोर चेक कीजिए फ्री में, क्योंकि लोन की जरूरत किसी को भी कभी भी पड़ सकती है।
चल एक्टिंग थोड़ा भेल बनो।
ए आयो भाग पैसाबाजार.com।
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. "10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India, one world hygiene,
NDTV's Yuva Conclave is back.
शुरू करते हैं एनडीटीवी का यूथ कॉन्क्लेव एनडीटीवी युवा।
भारत एक युवा देश है। अगर हम युवा एक हो जाएं, एकजुट हो जाएं, तो दुनिया की कोई ताकत हमें आगे बढ़ने से नहीं रोक सकती।
With India's biggest disruptors.
So when you tried to understand and have conversation with your parents कि मेरा नाम बांसुरी क्या रखा, उन्होंने क्या बताया?
So माँ ने तो बहुत ही स्वीट एक्सप्लेनेशन दी। She said कि कृष्ण की सबसे प्रिय वस्तु पे तुम्हारा नाम रखा गया है।
प्रेजेंट में रहो, अपना कर्म पूरी निष्ठा से करो, फल की चिंता मत करो।
दूसरी थ्रो लगने के बाद जब कोच साहब ने बताया
welcome to another episode on India Health Mission, a campaign that aims to have critical conversations around health and healthcare in India and how we make it more accessible and affordable. As we all celebrate Poshan Ma this month, it is perhaps appropriate to start these conversations by talking about nutrition, which is the starting point for our health development. Today, we talk about how important it is to be well nourished and how nutrition protects us and helps us manage and prevent diseases. Good nutrition is the foundation for a strong immune system, proper growth and overall well-being. A well-balanced diet rich in essential nutrients like vitamins, minerals, proteins and healthy fats is crucial for preventing malnutrition, enhancing immunity and reducing the risk of chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart condition and obesity. So for this very important conversation, joining us today, we have with us, let me introduce, we have Dr. Sarath Gopalan, President, Nutrition Society of India, Consultant Pediatric Gastroenterologist, Madhukar Rainbow Children's Hospital, New Delhi. Also joining us, Dr. Nikhil Tandon, Professor and Head of Department Endocrinology and Metabolism, AIIMS. Dr. Sameer Gupta, Senior Interventional Cardiologist, Director, Metro Group of Hospitals, and Dr. Manjul Joshipura, Senior Vice President, Innovations and New Product, Cadila Pharmaceuticals. Thank you all so much for joining, I think, in this very crucial and critical conversation. To begin with, Dr. Gopalan, I would like to ask you the first question here. The state of malnutrition in our country is one of the most significant threats to human health, something, I mean, we've been grappling with since independence. Where are India's nutritional challenges when it comes to pregnancy and infancy, and what is India's malnutrition crisis at this point?
Thank you, Amika. So, being a pediatrician and a pediatric gastroenterologist, let me start right at the beginning, where the life begins. If you start from infancy, the first and foremost thing is ensuring exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months of age. These are the national guidelines, and despite persistent efforts, things could definitely improve when it comes to exclusive breastfeeding, but a lot has been achieved over the years. Having said this, that being the first objective, while the emphasis is on exclusive breastfeeding, it is equally important to ensure that at 6 months of age, the young infant is exposed to other foods, which are referred to as complementary foods, the weaning foods to start with, other food items other than breast milk. One of the main highlights of the dietary guidelines for complementary feeding, which have been very recently rolled out, are the emphasis on cutting down on high-fat, salt and sugar-containing foods. And in this regard, use of home-based foods which are adapted to decrease the amount of salt and sugar which are added, keeping in mind the guidelines, would go a long way in ensuring optimum health when it comes to the complementary feeding practice. The third aspect when it comes to infants and young children is, when should we introduce animal milk in the diet? Now, from the standpoint of encouraging and promoting breastfeeding, the most practical suggestion which the pediatricians of the young infant and young child feeding chapter put forward is that if you delay introduction of animal milk directly till 1 year of age, but animal milk containing complementary foods like ghee, cheese and other food items can be introduced even after 6 months. But the direct introduction of animal milk, it's better if it's done after 1 year of age.
Sure.
And breastfeeding should be continued beyond 2 years of age. Coming to the pregnant woman. Now, there is a program we have already had in place, the anemia program, but we have to look at 4 different aspects here. One is the strategy itself, which has been implemented for several years, the implementation, whether there are any gaps, supervision of that implementation, and recently there's been a lot of interest generated in can there be any ways by which we can improve absorption of nutrients from the gut, any scientific advances in this direction. And there's the concept of a life cycle approach from womb to tomb, starting right from when the infant is born, right through to the elderly stage.
I think, Dr. Gopalan, thank you for explaining that. So we understand, from breastfeeding and what you've explained about the womb to tomb, the first 1,000 days are extremely critical. Moving ahead, Dr. Tandon, in fact, we do know like India also faces this dual burden where, one hand, malnutrition is a huge challenge, and on the other, there's a heavy incidence of overnutrition and obesity. But often people suffering from obesity also have nutritional deficiencies. Could you explain that to us? How can proper nutrition effectively address this as well?
So actually malnutrition really covers the entire spectrum of both over and undernutrition. Now, when you're obese, you may actually end up with additional problems where, certain vitamins which can get stored in the fat may get primarily located out there and therefore not enough available in the circulating fluid. Obviously, the presence of a range of fats which are not desirable. You need fats. I think that we should disabuse people of the notion that you don't need fats.
Yes.
But you need fats of a certain amount of a certain type. Once you either take the wrong sorts of fat or an excessive amount of fat, it contributes significantly to, formation of plaque in the coronary arteries, formation and affecting by deposition of fat in different body organs, also impeding your ability to metabolize and therefore contribute to elevation in sugars, elevated circulating blood lipids, and all of these then eventually contribute to a negative overall cardiometabolic risk.
No, I think, thank you. I think what you said about habits and being mindful is extremely critical here, and right fats, I think that's another very important thing because sometimes we go on to extremes. Dr. Gupta, talking of obesity and diabetes, the rising burden of NCDs in our country has become a public health crisis. How many of the NCDs are linked to poor nourishment? What dietary changes would you recommend to reduce the risk of cardiovascular conditions in the Indian population?
So, Ambika, I think, first of all, let me congratulate you when you are talking about such an important thing, which is portion, right? Nutrition. It is the essence of all of us, right? Food, the food that we eat. So, obesity is becoming a major problem. And I, as a cardiologist, see diseases and heart attacks and other problems related to obesity every single day. India is becoming the heart disease capital of the world. It is getting the diabetes capital of the world, and they're all linked to nutrition. Most of the lifestyle illnesses, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, some malignancies, they're all linked to food and nutrition. The high salt intake that we have. Indians do love our salts, whether it's in papad, whether it is in achar, whether it is in all the chutneys we eat. They are all very high salt containing things. They increase the risk of hypertension. We love our sugars. You go anywhere, the festival season is coming up, everybody's going to be having mithai, they're going to be halwa, and there are going to be all these nice desserts. It increases the risk of diabetes. Yes. And it is not just these sugars, Ambika. It is not just these sugars, it is the hidden sugars. So there is a direct correlation with the food we eat, with the lifestyle diseases that we then inculcate. And they in turn translate into heart attacks and make us, the heart disease capital of the world.
So I think a very important point, the food we eat is directly related to NCDs, and that's why, we see the number of cases increasing so much. So next time when somebody asks us, meethe mein kya hai, we all need to be mindful and not just think of the sweet, but also the hidden fats which you've spoken about. Moving ahead, Dr. Joshipura, we understand that nutrition is of critical importance to our overall health and performance, but how do we get that nourishment in an evolving idea? Nutrition science is working to meet constantly changing global health needs. How do pharmaceutical companies like Cadila respond to that changing need?
I think if you look at the overall landscape, especially national landscape where you have titled this session on India Health Mission, so you already touched upon the two burdens that are overlapping. The other element of the nutrition is basically deficiency of vitamins, minerals, and trace elements. That is also getting emerging as one of the important area in overall nutritional landscape to address. As our country is progressing, we are seeing demands and requirements for such nutritional supplements as well by the medical experts and the patients as well. So I want to talk about the minerals that are important in nutrition as such, and iron is a well-known example. I think everybody knows that India suffered from iron deficiency, anemia for a long time, and even today, in pregnant women, in children, and in adolescents also, anemia is a critical problem. So clearly, iron deficiency is one of the things that can be tackled. The other elements, of course, is iodine, which is being tackled with fortification of several foods. Salt is a classic example. Iodized salt is an example. And then iron, we talked about. Calcium is an important mineral that is being supplemented, and there is a requirement for calcium supplement. And of course, magnesium and zinc are important minerals. So these are the minerals. And then vitamin deficiency is also known, and as we know, vitamin A is required for vision, immune function, skin health, vitamin C for immune system, skin health, and so on. Vitamin D, we know, bone health, and so on. Vitamin E, K, and multitude of vitamin B complexes, right?
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Moving on, Dr. Gupta, we're talking about nutrition science. Dr. Joshipura was talking about it, responding to the changing health needs. Now, our bodies are under more stress from the environment than ever before. How is nutrition helping our bodies cope? The heart and the immune system, for example, are very